see 0 viewers according to this. Live stream. View. Oh, no, there it is.
Okay. No, I see it now. We do appear to be live. Hi, folks. Okay, now I see people chatting also. Hello, everyone. Please let us know about audio levels. Hello. Sorry that we're a little delayed this morning. Normal Senva in the chat. Karen in the chat. Love it. I hope everyone is ready for the roast of Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson live on MTV
Whoa.
today.
Don't spoil the episode. Maybe we loved it.
Yeah, true. Know? Maybe we loved this back half of this horrendous fucking book. Okay, give us a second to get settled here, folks. Let us know as we are chit-chatting how audio levels are. Can you hear us? Are we loud and clear? Any issues before we get started? And then we'll get started.
There was a question because I had my monitoring very high about my audio level. Are we pretty balanced right now between me and Abu? Let us know.
Yeah. If one of us is way louder than the other, let us know, because we've kind of been dealing with that issue for a bit.
Yeah, plus, as you can see, new studio on my part. And new studio on Abu's part. It's all new. It's all new and fresh. Everything's good. Feels fine? Hell yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Leo's a little quiet, I think. First time that's ever been said. Let's turn me up.
I'm a little quiet?
No, Leo's a little quiet.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's... I think we just have to leave it there. You are balanced. Okay, sweet.
Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Okay, folks. Hope you are excited. This is going to be an interesting one. We're going to cover the back half of Hunters of Dune. We already did part 1, so hopefully you had a chance to either watch that live stream or listen to the episode on the podcast feed that came out a couple weeks ago. And today we're just going to do episode 2, so this should be fun. Let me get my local going. Testing 1, 2, 3. Local audio. I'm seeing waveforms. I'm seeing levels. Great.
I feel like sometimes when I open Logic mid-recording, it messes everything up. But let's see. Okay, I opened it, and I'm recording. We still good?
I can hear you. I can hear you, yeah.
To quote Odysseus, let's go.
Yeah, that's what he kept telling.
Right before he shotgunned the beer, right? He was like, let's fucking go, bro.
Okay. Let me just get my mic adjusted here. All right. You ready, Leo? Shall we?
I think we shall.
Let's do it. Okay, folks. Hunters of Dune. Here we go.
Jesus.
Do you remember who did the intro for the first episode?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But maybe I have it like right here. Maybe. Hunters. I know I wouldn't have it there. Hunters. No.
It's also so hot in my studio today. Goddamn.
Dude, it's so hot everywhere. It sucks. But, coldest. Think about it this way. This is the coldest, coolest summer we're ever going to have again,
Yeah. That's true.
I don't have it. I'll do this because I wrote it.
Okay, go ahead.
Here you're loving the book. Yeah, it's great. As the audience watched, the podcast hosts came together and piled one on top of the other, twisting into a single larger podcast host that reared up high enough to reach the cookie jar. We're talking about Hunters of Dune again.
That joke may or may not make sense. We'll explain it later.
We'll explain it later.
It's a thing in this book.
It's a cut. I don't know how deep it is, but it's a cut.
It's a cut. Welcome, folks, to Gom Jabbar, your guide to the iconic world of Dune. We'll be exploring the themes, philosophies, and characters found in the sandy depths of this vast universe, from Frank Herbert's groundbreaking novels to the adaptations on film and TV. My name's Abu.
My name is Leo.
And Leo,
Mm-hmm.
here we are after what feels like centuries. Today we're going to finish up the back half of Hunters of Dune by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson.
Yeah, we always say at the end of a book club, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe we started this a year ago. We have like 30 episodes. It's so much. This is like episode 2, and it's been the most torturous book club that we've ever done. Insane. Well, before we get too far into ranting, raving, venting, and the therapy session that this episode inevitably is going to become, let's take care of our housekeeping. And of course, that starts with a spoiler warning. And as always, because this is the tail end of our comprehensive book club series, today's episode will contain spoilers for all 6 of Frank's books, including now the entirety of Hunters of Dune by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson.
That's right. So I guess make sure you've read Hunters before you listen today. I feel like it's optional.
Just make sure you don't care about
That's
that
right.
book being spoiled.
Yeah, figure out where you are emotionally before you continue listening today, I guess, is the warning.
Check in.
That's the true spoiler warning.
Frankly, if I had any advice for this novel, is check in with yourself emotionally frequently. Like, do I even need to continue is a question you should ask yourself every few pages, for sure.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's a question I certainly was asking myself, even though I was required to read it for today's episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, a quick note up top. As always, we need to shout out our... A quick note up top. As always, we need to shut out, Jesus.
Shut them out. Make sure they don't score. Basketball.
A quick note up top. We need to shout out our Kwisatz Haderach level patrons. That's Daniel Dion, Seth Redden Greer, Brad Hutchins, Kevin Mahanram, and Roger Young. Folks.
Yeah.
If I was going to aimlessly wander in a no ship for like 16 years for no plot reasons at all, I'd probably do it with the 5 of you.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a crew, I feel like I'd want to pick the most generous among us.
Very true. You don't have to worry about them like stealing all the food rations and stuff like that,
That's right.
They share.
Or trying to create golas of their former lovers back home. I don't have to worry about that,
Which is problematic on so many levels. That's true. Of course, our thank you extends, and honestly, our invitation to come live in our no-ship city that's like floating through space, I think that extends to all of our patrons at every tier.
Yeah.
Seriously, the aid and the support that you all contribute to Gom Jabbar makes what we do possible, and even when what we're doing is clawing our way through Hunters of Dune by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, it is still so much fun to do it with all of you, with you, Abu, and we couldn't do it without the support of our patrons. So thank you, everyone.
That's right. And look, we get it. Times are tough. The economy's a mess. It's not looking like the chip shortage is getting any better.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the means to become a monthly supporter right now, we completely understand. It's A-OK. Check out the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes below. That's a space where you can just toss us a one-time tip of any amount of your choosing, and every little bit goes a long way toward helping us keep the lights on and continuing to do what we do week in and week out on this show and on future projects now. So check that out in the show notes below. And it means the world to us if you do.
Indeed. All right. So today's episode, here's the game plan. We are going to finish our summary of Hunters of Dune, sharing our thoughts and analysis and playful jabs and tiny disses along the way.
Yep.
And instead of a grand thematic takeaway, because again, frankly, we couldn't find anything worth talking about, we're going to share our metric ton of thoughts and feelings after a couple of ad breaks. No, we're going to share our metric ton of thoughts and feelings. So stay tuned for those. Who knows, folks? Hey, maybe we loved the book and you won't know unless you stay until later in the episode.
I think they know, Leo.
No, there's no way. We've been so subtle about it.
Well, for those of you who haven't picked up on the subtlety, stick around After a quick break, we're going to get into the back half of Hunters of Dune and finish this book. We'll see you in a minute. Well, for those of you who haven't picked up on the subtlety yet, let's do it. Let's dive into the back half of Hunters of Dune.
Truly a book with no subtlety. Welcome back, everybody. Brace yourself for a staggering lack of subtlety. Let's begin by summarizing this adventure of a book. And like last episode, it doesn't really make sense to do chapter by chapter because, frankly, there are too many chapters. I don't know if Brian and Kevin know that they're allowed to write long chapters. I think they kind of just ended chapters. And I left a note for myself at one point. Even Brian and Kevin are tired of this chapter. They just wanted to like do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to be summarizing this book arc by arc. And of course, the first arc that we are going to be focusing on is the No Ship, is this crew of the Ithaca, which is still out in space. And I say that it is still out at space by the midway point in the book, and it is still out in space at the end of the book. Nothing changes. It's great. This, of course, arc is focused around a pocket of characters, right? We've got Duncan, Shiana, Teg. We've got the Rabbi. We've got the Futars. We've got Golas, more on the way, I guess, and a bunch of Bene Gesserits, as well as just a whole lot of bullshit. Throughout the last half of the book, basically the major arc is how much Duncan misses Myrbella, right? Like Duncan, who's now almost, 10, 15 years from seeing the love of his life, misses her so much, he's kind of like randomly jeopardizing everyone's lives. Like at one point, he fold space jumps to get further away from her, even though he's like deleted all the navigational data at this point. So who knows if he's actually getting further from her or if he's, getting closer. No one knows. But
Nobody
they
knows.
keep
How could you
telling us every time they do a jump, it's like life or death risk. So he just like randomly is like, I miss her. Well, time to life or death everyone on the No Ship.
Yeah.
And it lands them basically in the tachyon net, in the like gossamer net that they've been trying to avoid the last like 15 years. They basically land in it.
Whoops.
And Duncan doesn't notice because he just misses Myrbella so much. He's like, oh,
yeah. Folks, we call this the horny haze.
The horny haze.
You can't focus on anything.
If you were to play Duncan Idaho, the character in the game with this moveset, it's the only move he has, horny haze. And you just do it and then nothing happens. It's so sad. So Teg shows up. Duncan is horny hazing all over the bridge, just kind of there. And Teg has to use his super speed in order to like fold space, jump them a bunch of times to get them away from the tachyon net. And later in the Ithaca arc, Teg is given actually full control over the like where they're going. They're basically like, hey, you've got some pretty good instincts, Teg. Where should we go? He brings them to a no planet, an entire planet that is shrouded in that no field technology that makes it basically invisible to all forms of detection.
Crazy.
And we learn
unprecedented, some might say.
Crazy and also unprecedented. And can I just say, can I admit, I feel like this is a dirty secret. I kind of liked it. I was like, whoa, a no planet. Like that's kind of cool. Like that's like that's a ballsy ambitious thing. Problem is, it's like not working. It doesn't, first of all, it doesn't function as a no planet. Whoever lived there was found and killed. So the no planet thing didn't work out. Yeah. And it is still running and operational, but it's like flickering. And they're like, oh, in 100 years, it's going to not be working anymore. But they do discover this is an honored Matre planet that they basically settled and built it up. It's all covered in, gaudy honored Matre decor. And they are gone. There's nobody, no humans anywhere. And it keeps being referred to as this like, what's the term? It was like a graveyard planet because everyone there died from plague. But there are also like no bodies. So it's a little bit, I was a little unclear. I was like, no, it seems like it was abandoned. But I guess everyone there died from a plague. Now, this, of course, opens up a big question. How exactly do the honored Matre have the kind of technology necessary to field an entire planet in no field? And
Yeah.
why haven't they done anything with any of it during their invasion of the Old Imperium? Who's to say? We've got no idea. And anyway, the whole planet is empty and plagued, and the people on the no ship, the Ithaca, are like, nah, we don't really want to settle on a plagued, empty planet. And
Yeah.
besides, its no field didn't work in the first place. So we're going to move on rather than settle down. So this was just kind of like a little side episode. I think the big takeaway from this point was the confirmation that the thing that the Honored Matre were running from were plagues, because this is like slowly working
Yeah.
toward the like robot plagues,
Right.
but they already basically figured that out in Chapter House. Like
Right.
O'Drade pieces together that the biological warfare, like that is what they want. They want science and they want the ability to control your metabolism. And like we know that already. And if O'Drade knew that, Shiana should already know that, and yet she has to
Right.
learn it again for some reason in this book.
Right. And also, like, I don't know, 300 some pages into this fucking book, this is played off as some sort of reveal, but you're
Yeah.
totally right. We've like known this since Chapter House.
Yeah.
So it's actually not a big reveal. The bigger reveal is that there's a planet that had a no field around it, which
Yeah.
is technology that explicitly in Chapter House, the Bene Gesserit are like, that's physically impossible by the laws of physics because it would require too much energy to pull that off.
Right. Yeah.
So the fact
And
that
yet.
we just stumble upon a planet where someone has pulled it off implies there is technology out here where someone can harness, like, you know, the power of multiple suns or whatever the math works out to be. And yet, who cares? You know, whatever. It's a plagued planet. We move on. It's played as some like huge reveal, but it's kind of a nothing burger at the end of the day.
Also, they get there because Tag follows his prescience,
Yeah.
which like again, I made the joke in the last episode that like prescience got hugely downgraded. Everyone's got prescience, but
Everyone.
truly everyone has prescience. And
Yeah.
it's crazy to me. Like we're just like, oh yeah, Shiana's got prescience, Duncan's got prescience, Teg's got prescience. Basically, anybody who needs to have prescience has prescience. And if you don't have
Right.
prescience, you can just take a lot of spice and suddenly you have prescience, which only happens for Chani in Dune because she's with Paul and she's like sharing the Tau, like sharing her mind with Paul, and Paul has the genetic prescience thing. So this is completely wrong, and it's just all over this book. Like literally, the
Yeah.
mechanism that's driving them to this planet that no one could find is Teg having prescience for some reason.
Yeah. And again, it's not even. I like hesitate to even call it prescience because it's not the powers that Paul and Leto 2 had. It's just plot convenience. It's like we gotta have some bullshit reason to stumble upon this planet, so he saw it in his visions, and so he navigated us there. And we're not going to bother explaining it further than that, or exploring like why he saw it in his visions, or did
Yeah.
he lock us into a path? You know, all of the philosophy that comes with prescience that Frank Herbert spent 6 books exploring is just tossed out the window so that prescience can be like an easy plot device
Right.
to get us from point A to point B in these books. You know,
It's
it's
called like
it's a damn shame.
It's called like skipping ahead in the book is his new ability, where he's like,
Right.
I've seen 2 chapters from now.
Yeah,
and
just
we
skip
are
skip this cutscene, get to the next mission. That's all we're doing
hold
here.
X. I am holding
Okay,
X
let's
right
skip
now.
this cutscene. We're already spending way too long on a thing that doesn't matter. We move on. We don't want to settle on this planet. It's creepy and
Right.
plagued. The vibes are off. So then they jump to another planet. And this one, oh my goodness, this one looks perfect. It's
Looks great.
green, it's lush, it's
Mhm.
populated, it's livable. You know, the atmosphere checks out. It's all good. And look, there's even people here. There's like
Mhm.
little towns, you know, and maybe we can make contact with the locals and they will accept us,
Mhm.
which again logically makes no sense. If you are running out into the unknown, why is your first thought, yeah, let's make contact with the locals? They're totally going to be chill with us.
Right.
Except we don't know who these locals are. We randomly jumped into the unknown universe. So are these people even human? no hesitation. Everyone's just like, let's just go down there and say hello.
Could only be a good thing. Yeah, it's
could
not
only be a
like
good
all
thing.
of the villains have come from the Scattering, and now we are out in the Scattering. Like,
Yeah, right. Oh, we jumped out into the Scattering where all the people that are trying to kill us came from. Let's just go
probably
say
be
hi to
nice.
this random planet.
They're probably nice.
It's ludicrous. Anyway, they want to go down. Everyone kind of has their motivations for why they want to go down. Garimi, one of the sisters, essentially is like sick of this fucking ship and wants to establish the sisterhood on a new planet and establish a new chapter house out in the universe, kind of get that ball rolling again. The rabbi, also sick of being on this fucking ship, never volunteered to be on it in the first place. He wants to find a Zion for his hidden Jews, find a new place, get off this goddamn ship. Essentially, everyone wants to get off this damn ship. The Futars included. The Futars, when they arrive at this planet, they suddenly go wild. And it's revealed that this is the Futar home planet. This is where they're from. Herm is like, handlers down there. Take me down there. And
Yeah.
Shiana's like, okay, buddy, let me let you off out of this
Load 'em
cage and
up.
let's take you down there to your home
Yeah.
planet where we don't know what the fuck you're going to do.
Also, like vicious, dangerous futars, which are like super dangerous. Like that's the planet where they're from. Let's go. Let's in fact bring them. Bring the ones who've killed and eaten people on this ship.
On this very ship.
Get them on the shuttle. Come
You know
on,
what?
boys.
Throw them on the shuttle. And yeah, we've established that they will listen to their handlers who are probably down there and they'll stop listening to us. So it's probably safe to do that. Like,
Totally safe. Yeah. Weapons, living weapons. Let's bring
Again,
them to the wielders.
no logic and like 0 ounce of intelligence left in any of these characters, which,
Yeah.
just reflects the authors of the book. They drop down. The team in the shuttle is Shiana, it's Teg. The rabbi wants to come along because he insists. 12-year-old Thufir Hawat, the Gola, also comes along because Teg has essentially sort of like took him under his wing. And, of course, Herm and the Futars are coming too.
This whole thing pissed me off because they were like, oh, we should bring Thufir. It'll be good for his developing mind to do this. And I'm like, no, he's a fucking Gola. You don't have to develop him into Thufir Hawat. You just have to awaken him.
Right.
And then he's Thufir Hawat. Like, they had this like weird mixture of, well, we have to like prepare him to have his like mentat abilities. And it's like, nah, I don't think that's how Golas work. Like, I think I don't know. Like, my understanding at least is you give them the supplemental shit that they're not going to have beforehand. They're giving Duncan the like combat training that he wouldn't necessarily have from his original life because he's not going to have that. And then he'll have all of the new combat training and he's up to date and he's got all that stuff. I don't know. This whole thing kind of felt like it was a missing connection somewhere.
Yeah, it's like a flimsy excuse. I guess I hand waved it away as like, sure, they're kids. You got to like prepare them for the horrible experience of awakening. So I guess it's good for them to have, I don't know, experiences outside the ship. That was kind of my like way to justify it. Okay, they go down.
The others?
Right, the others
like,
all get left
yeah,
behind.
fuck
those
them.
guys. Especially Yui. Yui has been mentioned like once in this whole fucking book.
Dude.
No one gives a shit about Yui. So again,
you're
we
right.
raise the question: why did we bring Yui back? So okay, back to this handler planet. They go down in the shuttle. They go meet the handlers. Communication is no problem at all. Everyone is just speaking to each other in the blink of an eye. And the handlers seem nice and inviting. And they're like, yo, this is great. We'd love to welcome you to our planet. Actually, we're about to like hunt some Bene Gesserit that we captured. We'd love for you to see the hunt. It's like a great ceremony and a great honor for you to come join us for that. So they, people are like a little bit suspicious. Thufir is kind of like, what's going on here? Teg is like, I'm suspicious, but they agree. Of course, things go sideways. During the hunt, one of the handlers is killed.
Mm-hmm.
And then morphs into a face dancer. And whoa, plot twist. All of the handlers are actually face dancers. They quickly change up their tune. They've been lying to us this entire time, folks. They work for the old couple. And then they attempt to essentially, they want to grab the no ship and they want to grab everyone on it because they work for the old couple. Shiana and the gang make a run for it. Herm, because he has this friendship and connection to Shiana that we saw like one chapter of, he sacrifices himself to save Shiana and the crew. They can make it back to the ship, and against literally all odds, somehow they do. They get in the ship and they blast off back toward. Um, oh, sorry. Against all odds, they do. They get back in the shuttle and they blast off back toward the Ithaca in orbit.
I do want to share this description of the handlers. Quote, their long limbs were loose and bent easily at the joints, end quote. And I highlighted this and I wrote classic joints. My long limbs bend difficultly at the joints. I truly do not know what that sentence means. It's like you're describing these like gangly guys who are like disproportionately long limbs, perhaps. But the idea of like their limbs bent easily in the place where they're supposed to bend easily. I'm like,
Right.
wow, I've learned so much. Truly staggering writing. Now,
Staggering stuff.
at the last second, right? So they get back to the no ship. You're right. The very last second, the no ship has to like reveal itself for a second so that Teg, who's piloting the little shuttle, can get back in. It reveals itself for a second. Teg gets back in, but then the pursuing handler face dancer driven ships like collide with the side of the no ship. But it's so big, it's not really a big deal. They're just kind of like, ooh, okay, we've got some like crashed shuttles on our ship. They jump away. They get away successfully. The tachyon net was closing, whatever. They get away successfully. And when Duncan inspects the various crashes, it's like every ship had two face dancers, except for two of them only have one, the pilot.
Oh.
So there is, at the end of the book, this open question, maybe there are two living face dancers on the no ship. And these are like the superpowered ones who you can't tell at all that they are face dancers, right?
Right. Yeah, now the Ithaca is just Aliens 2, the hit sci-fi horror film.
Right. And the thing, it's like, okay, we don't know. Check to see if the glint in the eye, if the glint in the eye is there, it's not the thing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, during their
Prometheus.
escape.
We were talking about how much we love Prometheus the other day.
Great movie. Great movie.
Great movie.
Famously, everyone likes that movie. I think. Anyway, during their escape, Teg reveals his super speed, even though everyone does already know about this canonically, according to Frank's lore. Nevertheless, he reveals it. And then he also tells them, this is genuinely a reveal to everybody. He tells people about his ability to see no ships. He basically says, yes, I can see no ships. Now this, which should be the most like mind-boggling, incredible thing that Shiana's ever fucking heard, is just like glossed over. And the conversation is like Duncan being like, come on, Shiana, don't give him a hard time. We've all got secrets. And that's it. And they like where the conversation ends is crazy. Now, throughout this process, Duncan, again, really need to reiterate, he super misses Marbella. So he actually quietly goes to Cytail, Master Cytail,
This is
and
crazy.
nearly makes a Gola, like commissions a Gola of Marbella that he can raise to presumably fix his addiction. And lest you not understand what I'm saying, they had a sexual relationship. So we are talking about adult Duncan Idaho growing a child until presumably that child is old enough to have sex with them.
Yeah.
And it's fucking insane that this
We have a term for this. It's called grooming.
it's hyper grooming. We need a stronger word for when you actually commission the birth of the person. Fucking insane. Now, he at the very last second doesn't do it. He's like, oh, maybe I won't, And he's able to not do this. He's able to like rally himself out of this like missing Marbella.
Yeah.
Because Shiana...
Tell us how, Liam. Tell us how. Describe it in detail.
In detail, huh? Because late at night, Shiana like saunters into his bedchamber wearing this like sheer thing, her clothes, naked under her, and she's like, Duncan, we're gonna fuck and it's gonna cure you. And Duncan's like, no. She's like, yeah. She does not take no for an answer. They end up like sex battling, where he uses all of his sex powers against her, and she uses all of her sex powers against him.
And they're so equally matched.
And they're so equally matched that their sex powers cancel out. And Duncan wakes up and is like, "Whoa, I'm cured. I'm cured of love and like having a connection with someone else. Amazing. So good."
That's how
So
that
that
works.
happens. That works. Meanwhile, also, Gola, Paul, who's like 12 or something at the end of the book, he overdoses on spice. He like takes a ton of spice, way more than he should, and has a vision of himself being stabbed by himself. He like an evil version of me, probably named Paulo, stabbing me. I had this vision. Oh my God. And he wakes up and everyone's around him. They're like, oh my God, did you also get your memories back? He's like, no, I just have actual prescience.
Yep. Also, I told you so to everybody.
I mean,
Evil
listen, maybe
Paulo
it's a,
versus good Paul versus evil Paul fighting like the Shadow Realm version of himself. I would say this is so anime, but even the worst anime isn't as bad as this book. So
listen, maybe it's a red herring. Maybe something really tasteful and
there's no
cool is
red
going to
herrings in
happen.
this book. It's all literal and on the nose.
Yeah, misdirection is a word they haven't looked up in a thesaurus yet. Yeah. It is funny. There are literally times when I'm like, I see a word and it's so out of place with the vocabulary of the rest of the book. I'm like, this is for sure one of them pulled open a
A
thesaurus because they wanted
thesaurus,
to like
yeah.
do something fancy. It's so funny.
Right.
Anyway,
There'll be
the
like a
arc
one-off
ends.
sentence where I'll be like, "Oh, damn, banger," and then I'm like, "Oh, they stumbled on this one by accident,"
Yeah, yeah.
or like
Or
or their editor was like, "Hey, maybe polish this sentence up a bit."
Or there will be two or three sentences where I'm like, wait, that kind of slaps. And then I check and it's a word for word quote of one of Frank's like sentences. It's just lifted fully
Yeah.
and like referenced, but again, not even like paraphrased. It'll just be like the epigraph is just a quote from Frank Herbert's book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this was the best sentence I read all book. This is
This whole
great.
goddamn book. Yeah.
Well, in any case, this arc, the Ithaca arc, the whole fucking book, I mean, the main character, this chunk of the book ends with Duncan cured from his terrible addiction to Merbella, aka love. He jettisons her belongings into the like vacuum of space,
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
and that's where it ends. It's like the Golas, none of the Golas have their memories. They
Nope.
shouldn't, frankly, even exist. The Futars are gone. There might be face dancers on the ship. That's kind of like a new wrinkle, but frankly, that's like a halfway through the book type of wrinkle. Like that's not something you leave a cliffhanger after 400 pages.
Yeah.
That's insane. So our first arc, very dissatisfying, but that's where we're at.
That's right. Okay, let's take a quick break. Let's really process everything we just talked about there. Let's sit with it, and we'll come back after a minute to talk about arc number 2 because we got to check in on Merbella and how her war against the Honored Matres is going. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no time to sit with that and process the slop we just talked about because we got to move on to arc 2 and check in with our girl Merbella and how her war against the Honored Matres is going. I ended that sentence weirdly. Let me take that again. Because we got to check in with our girl Merbella and how her war with the Honored Matres is going.
Truly a reminder that humans can also make slop. We're curious. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, buckle up. We have our second arc, which is following Merbella on Chapter House as she continues to battle with the Honored Matres. And this whole chunk of the book is basically them preparing for the inevitable arrival of the enemy, right? So, Abu,
Yeah.
how are Merbella's efforts going? Has she unified? I feel like O'Drade ended Chapter House with like a pretty rock solid. In fact, she beta tested her plan, right, with Merbella. She saw that it was going to work
Yeah.
and she set all of that on course. So How's Merbella doing? It's all working, right?
No, actually, none of that mattered,
Oh
Leo.
shit.
And it actually all just comes down to violence as the solution to everyone's problems. And we just
I
have
always
to
suspected.
kill like an infinite number of more women to solve the problem, actually.
Yeah. I always suspected that violence was the answer to all problems. My other white men have demonstrated that time and it's a classic strategy, but I had my doubts. This book cured me of those doubts. I think
That's
I think
right.
violence is the answer.
Yeah. Alas, that's it. That is essentially what Merbella is up to in the back half of this book. Unifying these two orders is not going well. It's also not subtle in any sense. We aren't asking any deep philosophical questions about what it means when two different cultures come together and the challenges and hurdles, but also the way we all see each other as humans. And it's revealing to us that, oh, the enemy was actually just people all along. No, no, no. None of that. The honored matres are bad. We have to kill them. And that is what Merbella is doing. And there's just, we're just sort of like trading tit for tat in the back half of this book. Merbella is taking hits from the Honor Matre. She's hitting back. For example, things come to a head when the Honored Matres, who are based on Gamu, the splinter cell on Gamu, they send this like DoorDash delivery via Guild Highliner of 4 obliterators hot and ready in 30 minutes or less straight to Chapter House, because again, remember, everyone knows where fucking Chapter House is now.
Insane. And they have obliterators left. I was like, okay, so what the fuck? This is crazy.
Like, this should be happening every day, like there should
Yeah.
be like nuke deliveries happening every day from Little Caesars right at Chapter House's door. But I guess this is a one-off. Luckily, everything's okay because Merbella is tipped off by a priestess from Gamu who beat the Highliner here, and
Somehow.
somehow, and was able to tip off Merbella that this was happening. And
Oh,
so,
did she get there with her reliable, fast solo travel ship that can take her faster than a
that doesn't
Highliner?
require a guild navigator,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe.
yeah. She used
The
one of
ships that
those.
have been around for like 1,500 years, probably.
Yeah,
She probably
yeah,
used one of those.
yeah. And the reason why Merbella should be dead, chapter 2. Yeah,
So,
right.
so anyway, they go on the guild Highliner. They murder a bunch of honored matre because we got to kill more women
Hmm.
indiscriminately. They confiscate the obliterators, and Merbella is like, "Great, we have this great new tech. Let's reverse engineer it, get it into mass production, baby. We're gonna need this for the oncoming battle against the great enemy."
Yeah, also, like, gone any philosophical conversation around, like, should a thing that can glass a planet even be mass produced? Like,
Yeah,
I think there is a conversation to be had there where maybe, like, sure, any weapon you need against the enemy, but like, you want to mass produce something that even just a couple are enough to obliterate a planet of people feels like that should have a sentence or two acknowledging the threat.
no,
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just like, yeah,
absolutely nothing.
nuclear warheads, all of them. Let's just make a billion.
And in fact, we got to keep fighting. We're in a war, right? So Marbella's
Yeah.
like, okay, we got to hit back on Gamu. Fuck these people for trying to nuke us. And so they attack Gamu in what can only be described as randomly. And it all sort of takes place on like a single page.
Yeah,
They
insane.
attack Gamu. I'll talk later about how, like, anyway, it makes no sense. On Gamu, they discover that there were face dancers hidden among the forces. Oh my god, more face dancers. Are we sensing a trend here, folks? The plot twist is always face dancers. And this becomes a huge threat to Merbella because now anyone, even people within her very sisterhood, even the honored matres they've captured from Gamu and brought back to Chapter House, could just be face dancers in disguise, waiting to spring their trap at any moment. What's the only way we can detect these new face dancers, though? Well, we have to bring them to the verge of death, and as like a survival instinct, they might lose control of their transformation and reveal their true
Right.
selves.
Maybe works. Maybe.
Maybe that works. And so Marbella's like, okay, let's test it. Chop, chop. And like
Say
fucking
less.
the her two lieutenants who came from Gamu and are like
Three
reporting
women.
this news to her. Three women.
She
She's just like, okay, chop, 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 and like fucking karate chops all of them. nearly kills all three of them, but none of them change into face dancers. And so she's like, okay, let's nurse these women back to health. They're actually who they say they are. Okay.
Like, don't shoot the messenger unless the way to check to see if the messenger is safe is to shoot, and then you have to shoot the messenger, but then use secret Bene Gesserit techniques to coax the messenger back to life. It's that simple, folks. I also want to point out they brought this up, and she like immediately checks these three women, and then it is not brought up again, even though if I am not wildly mistaken, this is at like the 70% of the way through the book. So there's like a giant chunk of the book after this where she's just working alongside lots of people who totally could be faced, and it's not even mentioned again.
Right. It just never comes up again. Well, we solved it, Leo. Chop, chop, chop. Chop to the
Yeah.
throat. You make sure they're
Yeah.
not face dancers, and then you're good.
Wait, what?
So you have to imagine there was a day on Chapter House where all the sisters had to line up,
just
and Rebella just had to very quickly chop, 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 chop. Kind of
Yeah.
like hit everyone in the throat. And if you died, you died. If you became a face dancer, you became a face dancer. If you survived, you're good.
I like to imagine that there was an earlier draft of this book that had actually like 50 more chapters, and each chapter was just that sequence of Marbella slowly, methodically, nearly killing every other woman in the book. And then the editor was like, this is a little bit much. People might not love reading all of that. And they really fought for it, but they, at the end,
The editor won.
they relented. Yeah.
Okay, continuing on. Oh, this is great. I'm glad we got this. I'm glad we threw this bullet point in because I forgot this happened.
Yeah.
As a total
insane.
aside,
Yeah.
something else that's happening on Chapter House. If you recall, Doria is around.
Yeah.
She's been put in charge of the spice production on Chapter House. And all that happens in the entire second half of the book with her is that she and her crew get hunted and eaten by sandworms. And that's it.
Yeah, like one chapter. Yeah.
It's a single
they like
chapter.
fuck up. Yeah. And they're like, man, those are bigger than they should be. And then they die.
Yeah. There's some like bickering between Doria and her other memory, downloaded
Belinda.
version of Belanda.
Yeah.
And then Belanda's like, bitch, you got me killed twice. Jump. And then the sandworm eats them, and that's it for Doria and Belanda.
Which is also
I don't know
wild
why
because
we needed any of that.
and it doesn't matter. Even though that she's like presumably Marbella's number 2 and the one in charge of spice production on Chapter
Yeah,
House.
is this
it,
going to
like,
affect spice production? Like,
never
is
comes
there
up.
any fallout from any of this?
There's also this whole thing where they were like, well, ever since the Leto 2 dissolved into the sandworms, the worms aren't as territorial, and now they like coordinate and work together, and they're smarter now. There's this whole thing throughout the book where they keep saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course, you look back on in Chapter House and in Heretics, and you're told explicitly by Frank that everyone since Leto 2's demise, everyone in the Bene Gesserit has been like hyper analyzing every worm to see if there's any sign, any evidence that his awareness is in there, and they have found nothing. Yet, in this book, they're like, oh yeah, it's pretty well known that they like now hunt in packs. It's like, I'm sorry, are these velociraptors from Jurassic Park? Like, what is this? It's so crazy. Also, this fucking imbecile team who's like, oops, we came out here with our only job is keeping track of these fucking things, and wow, those are bigger than and we died. It's so crazy. Oh my god. Anyway, as you mentioned, this back half of the book is the Bene Gesserit and the Honored Matre tit for tat fighting back and forth. So one of the hits that the Honored Matre land on Marbella's forces is when Helica basically coordinates with Edric and obliterators the entire planet of Richeese. So Richeese is gone. The entire planet has been there for 30,000 years. It's gone. And there's also this whole thing that this is like apparently all of their weapons, like all of Marbella's weapons that she's paid for, were there just like ships like chilling on Rachiz. So she's like, oh my God, I have nothing to show for the last years of paying the Richizians to like make a bunch of weapons. And and yet we know that's not true because we've seen her in Richizian warships and like with shit from them all the time. So it's like we're just being lied to at any given moment. It's like we could be told something that this own book disagrees with. It's
Yeah.
insane. And
Yeah.
it
I
was
mean,
so
the
exhausting.
internal contradictions of this book with itself, setting aside Frank Herbert's
Yeah.
words, is just appalling. It's like insulting.
It's nuts. Um, well, anyway, the Richizian like arms manufacturing being destroyed basically forces Mirbella's hand. She finally has to take care of this Helica problem because Helica on Tleilax is the last like big serious honored matre kind of like dug in, fortified position.
Yeah.
So she sends her daughter Janus and a small team ahead to run reconnaissance, basically like, you know, pretend to be honored matre, be on the planet, give me the details. You'll be there for like a month or something like
Right.
that beforehand.
Right.
She then
Odysseus, get inside the gates. Open the gates for us so we can get
she sends in the horse-shaped ship with Janus and the other, yeah, exactly. It's an original idea, okay? She also bribes Edric, the Spacing Guild navigator, into collaboration with Spice. Now, even though Edric was the one who helped deliver the obliterators to Rachiz, he's like, yeah, I'll take payment from anybody
yeah,
who's
this guy
offering.
really playing both sides.
Yeah, he's winning. He's doing great. He accepts that spice bribe, and in addition to his normal highliner that appears in the sky above Tleilax, there's another guild ship that is no fielded, and that is full of like Mirbella's forces, basically.
Yeah.
Now, at one point before all of this happens, Mirbella just like decides to think extra hard. She's been trying to get to the other memory of like, honored matre lives to like understand where the honored matres came from. And she's just been like, man, I just can't do it. There's like a block, an insurmountable wall that no honored matres can get over. And then she just one day takes a bit of extra spice and is like, come on. Oh, hey, there it
There it
is. I
is.
see it. Cool. Okay. So
I
she
guess
she
I could
does
have
it.
done this any time in the last 10 years, but
She or any other honor matre Reverend Mother could have just thought extra hard, I guess, and they would have done it. But they didn't try hard enough, I guess. I don't know. And she discovers that the origins of the honored matre, again, something that we had already been told in uh, Chapter House, she discovers that actually, yes, Bene Gesserit and fish speakers, but also some rescued Tleilaxu females, hence the previously inexplicable violence that the Honored Matre experienced, uh, that the Honored Matre demonstrated toward Tleilaxu males, and of course their name, Honored Mothers. Honored
mm,
Matres, Honored Mothers. Oh my God, what a twist. Turns out they were Tleilax women all along. Whoa.
wow.
Okay, so I just want to pause for a second because here's the thing. We basically already know the Honor Matre origins. Again, Frank told us in Chapter House it's fish speakers and Bene Gesserit. We were told that, and we were told Mirbella had other memory, and she confirmed for O'Drade some of their suspicions. It's confirmed. Like all of that happened. That being said, I will say I could see I could see a world in which Frank had written in his notes that the Tleilaxu females might have been involved somewhere. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
thematically, their use of sex, the name, I guess, but also, their um their use of sex, the name, sure. I could if I squint, I could kind of see how that would work, and that could even
Yeah.
be kind of an interesting thing. Like, yeah, they did mention no one's ever seen a Tleilaxu woman before multiple times in Frank's books. I kind of feel like maybe he was seeding some reveal about Tleilaxi
Yeah.
women out in the scattering.
Yeah, I feel like this theory was at least thrown around in Heretics and Chapter House.
Totally. Yeah, and honestly, I could almost see a world in which Frank wrote that story. But here's the thing, I don't believe that he would have given it to us like this.
No. Oh, of course
The
not. No.
the idea of just like laying it all out is so clunky and stupid and makes it bad. Like I was like, whatever like kind of poetic justice there is in here, it's just so handled so badly and it's so wrapped in like other types of misogyny and like killing women for no reason that any kind of poetic justice is just gone. And again, it just really rubs me the wrong way. Not only that, of course, Brian and Kevin are like walking all over Frank's legacy in what they're doing with their own prequel bullshit and like Omnius and Erasmus and all that shit. But also, the few things that they might have actually pulled from Frank's notes are handled so badly and so much worse than even Frank's worst writing. It just seems like such a waste. Like fucking take those notes and give them to a good author, please. You know,
Yeah,
give them to us. We'll find someone. You
for
know,
real. It's a damn shame. And again, at this point, I'm just like, I go back and forth on the notes all the time on how much I believe they actually exist, and if they do, how much is actually in there. There's certainly not enough for a seventh book in there. That I know for sure. In my heart of hearts, probably just some ideas that every author has laying around and on random in random notebooks and on random like sticky notes that they cobbled together into this shit. Okay, let's talk about this assault on the planet. It's about as dumb as you imagine. Mirbella's final confrontation here starts with a bluff. You know, hey, I just want to have a face-to-face meeting. Can you hop on a Zoom?
yeah,
And you would think that this might be some sort of intentional parallel to how, Odrade first confronted Dama in Chapter
sure,
House.
yeah.
And like that could have been cool, I guess. But folks, you have to remember Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson did not read as far as Hunters of Dune and Chapter House of Dune, and Chapter House Dune. So they have no clue.
Take that again. Heretics of Dune in chapter.
Sorry. But folks, you have to remember Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson never actually made it to Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune in their own
Right.
reading of the saga. So they wouldn't know to make a reference to a Drade meeting Dama here. They
Maybe
think
that's
this is
like-
an original idea.
I mean, maybe credit where credit's due. That's a pretty good original idea. Frank just had it like 50 years ago.
So, of course, as soon as Marbella arrives on the planet and is making her way to this meeting with Helica, all shit breaks loose. There were hidden forces that are now disembarking from a second cloaked guild ship. Psych, bitch. And now they're invading. And Marbella meets with Helica. They have this, like, really lame standoff. And ultimately, Marbella is able to kill Helica. And everyone, say it with me. As soon as Helica dies, she transforms into a face dancer. She's been a
What?
face dancer this whole
What?
fucking time.
A face dancer reveal? Crazy.
Another one.
Oh, and DJ Khaled, what happens next?
And when you think about this one in particular, it makes like negative sense because a lot of Helica's behavior and actions don't actually even align with her being a face dancer who works for the old couple from earlier in the book. So this is just a random decision that was thrown in here just to make sure that the real enemy, everyone knows the real enemy, was not, like, let's not complicate things. It's all just been the old couple this whole time.
Right.
Let's not complicate it and add more layers. Maybe Helica had other motivations. Maybe they're... No. They're all face dancers all the way down. It's been the old couple orchestrating everything for this entire fucking book.
Yeah, it all goes back to the old couple who, again, just to be clear, are two characters from the prequel books that Brian and
That they
Kevin
made
wrote.
up. Right.
Yeah. It all goes back to them. I'm sure that's what was in Frank's notes.
Frank definitely wrote that part for sure. I also, before we move on from this assault and before we wrap up Mirbella's arc here, I have like a military and logistical question.
Sure.
They don't have Planet Rachiz anymore, and as you stated earlier, they've lost all the ships and military weapons that were being manufactured on Planet Rachiz.
as we
And
were told.
yet
Yeah.
they're able to just wipe out Helica in like what looks like an afternoon.
Yeah, like
So
that.
why did
Yeah.
we need any of that? It sounds like you could have just done this assault at any point in this book, Marbella.
Yeah. She could have done it. I mean, it's like literally from what we're told, we have no reason not to think she could have done this like day three. Because even when she took Buzel, she showed up with like 75 new warships. And I'm
Right.
like, that's that's more than is mentioned in either the attack on Gamu or also Twi'leks. So yeah, I think she could have done all of this in an
Could have
afternoon,
done this
frankly.
at any point. And I texted this to you while I was reading, and I was like, something that makes me really sad about Hunters of a lot makes me really sad and mad. But one thing that makes me kind of sad is Frank did such an excellent job in Heretics and Chapter House, painting the Honored Matre as this existential threat.
Yeah.
This like unstoppable force of nature that we should all be terrified of. That the great Bene Gesserit are quaking in their fucking cloaks, thinking about. It's keeping Terraza and Odrade up at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in this fucking book,
Yeah.
somebody in the chat earlier said the Honored Matre are relegated to just being Team Rocket grunts, and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
They're nothing. They don't pose any sort of threat. Every attack against them is just successful in an afternoon. There's no sacrifices to be made in order to overcome what was, in the words of Frank Herbert, a truly insurmountable force that engulfed the entire old Imperium. And now Marbella is just able to capture these entire planets and wipe these people out in a weekend.
I
And
will
it just
also
takes all the
say,
teeth out of this threat. It just makes the Honored Matre a giant nothing burger. It's like sad and pathetic.
I will also say, and again, this is where like you and I love the themes and the philosophy of Dune. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like everything you just said, and also for me, the Honored Matre were seen as like evil, violent, vicious women by Bene Gesserit characters early in the book in Heretics. But as Heretics and Chapter House plays out, we start to see that perhaps they are simply the Bene Gesserit, just a little bit past the point of equilibrium, and how important that is. That they are not evil caricature women, that Dama is actually doing her best to negotiate and failing because she's never had to negotiate before, that they have recipes with beans and garlic, like they are living like sexual women who know how to live in the moment and like really inhabit what it means to be alive, something that the Bene Gesserit have long forgotten, and that Bene Gesserit dogma strips away. And
Yeah.
and again, it's like the thing that both orders are missing is love, the like big theme of Dune, that like it's Leto 2's weakness, and also it's the thing that it's Odrade's greatest strength. You know, that idea of like the Bene Gesserit is not the good guys. They are also bad, and also no one's bad. It's not that simple. Everyone has, and where really the people are the most dangerous is when they fall into one way of doing things forever and ever and never adapt and never look forward and never prepare for that tomorrow. Like all of that is there in Heretics and Chapter House. It's arguably the whole fucking point of those two
Yeah.
books.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this book, to what you're saying, they are not only like conquerable, stupid, like panicky, evil grunts. They are simply two-dimensional caricatures of like villainous, awful women with no redeemable qualities, which is like not the point of Heretics and Chapter House.
No,
And
not at all.
like that is so disappointing to me because again there are so many good opportunities to talk about like what does it mean, you know almost like, okay, let's say Helica is a face dancer, maybe all of the women under her immediately are like, oh yeah, let's join the Bene Gesserits because that's fucked up. But we don't get any of that. They get kind of like confused and they scatter like fucking moths when you turn off the light. It's so I hate it. I hate it so
I hate
much.
it. It's insulting. Also, I want to call out Yannick says Abu needs a lot of antioxidants to get through this book. And I think Yannick is saying that because I am now on my like second or third smoothie. I've just been chugging smoothies this entire recording. And it's so true. I need to like stay awake during this recording.
I also got sniffles for the first time in like weeks. I'm having an allergic reaction talking about this book. That's crazy. I will do my best to mute myself moving forward. I apologize, folks, for the sniffles and the snuffles. Well, Mirbella's arc concludes with this huge info dump. Basically, they all head back, all of the ones who matter, and haven't been eaten by fucking sandworms. Again, no mention of
Zero
the
mention.
like squad of people responsible for spice on Arrakis. The people responsible for spice on Chapter S. Acadia, the like archivist sister, I guess, archives mother, she basically briefs Mirbella and 100 of the brightest among the new sisterhood on what she's gathered. She's like, all right, here's the
Archives mother is what I
exposition.
call my librarian. And she says,
yeah.
please don't call me that. My name's Linda. Sorry.
Valid.
Continue.
So Mirbella thinks back to her recently unlocked Honored Matre other memory to an Honored Matre commander named Lanice, who basically during they're out in the scattering, she's an Honored Matre, they're like pillaging and doing the Honored Matre thing. They encountered a like fully automated outpost of like robotic outpost, and they just like smashed and grabbed everything. They grabbed like whole containers of obliterators, like I guess presumably all of the obliterators that the Honored Matre would ever have, because apparently they just stole them from this one warehouse and then left. Classic Honored Matre behavior. The problem is, of course, that incurred the anger and the retribution of the enemy, capital T, capital E, who then wiped out a bunch of Honored Matre planets like that with plagues, like biological plagues. And of course, we learn that the Honored Matre is actually Omnius, the thinking machine, as well as Erasmus, both like Terminator-style thinking machine robots from the prequel novel series. Again, a reveal that could not have happened in Frank's sequel book is somehow the whole point of this book that is supposedly the sequel to Frank's books, which doesn't make any sense.
So stupid.
So stupid. There's also this whole thing about like now we have proof. We have all of this information that's showing us all of the star systems that have been wiped out by the enemy. And again, I have to ask, and this is a classic issue in Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson books, how the fuck do they have any of this information with no computers? It doesn't, I have no idea.
Well, the Sisterhood has been using computers.
Yeah.
That was established in Heretics and Chapter House.
They have some machines that skirt the, but do they have the internet? Do they have, where are they getting this data? You know, like, and tell us.
Right. I mean, the question still stands. Like, how did you get this data from the edge of the scattering?
Right.
Did you go out into the scattering?
They've seen one planet.
So how are you pulling up a map that shows you the whole galaxy all of a sudden?
Right.
You know?
That's right. I think that's the
question is completely valid. It's like, where did the intel come from? But I don't think it's a matter of tech. I think like computers are pretty much in use at this point, pretty openly.
Yeah, that's fair.
But your question is still, I had the same thought where I was like, where'd you get a map that shows the entire galaxy and where the robots attacked and where the Honored Matre attacked?
Including the scattering. Like, who mapped the scattering?
Who mapped
and,
that?
like,
Right. That's the point of the scattering, is nobody has ever mapped it. You scatter to the unknown universe.
It's the whole rest of the universe. Like, presumably this is a chunk of space that is, like, impossible. I don't know. The whole thing didn't make any sense.
Totally,
but of course,
makes no sense.
Acadia had to tell us what was going to happen in the next book and had to validate all of the shit that, again, Mirbella has been saying all book very confidently with no evidence. Here's the evidence we're getting at the final chapter. Why didn't we get this, like, what if we got the warship arrived and then we had this, like, oh, look at these
and the warship
charts.
had data on it.
Yeah.
And that's
Boom.
like chapter 2 of this book. So then we're setting up the tension for the rest of the book.
Yeah. Also, we're wrapping up the Mirbella like sisterhood arc. Normal Sinva says in our live chat right now, they sent Cyborg Clairby as a spy. Excellent reference. I realized during this recording right now, I was like, Clairby wasn't mentioned at all in this book, and
No.
it pisses me off. Clairby should be a Gola somewhere. Again, normal said, but keep in mind, Cyborg Clairby died. He was cyborged and then he died on Junction. He was meant to be grown as a Gola. Where is Gola Clairby? He had to be in the sequel book. There's no shot that Frank would have made him a Gola and then not mentioned him once, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Justice for Clairby.
Yep. I would put money down Clairby was in those goddamn notes, and they just ignored it.
He was Daniel. He was
Yeah.
Daniel and Marty, as it turns out.
Because again, we can't say this enough. Brian and Kevin don't know who Clairby is. They didn't read Chapter House Dune.
It's a shame.
So they saw that in the notes and they were like, I don't remember this character. Fuck it.
Clairby? It might be a weird spelling of Duncan, probably. I don't know. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we're back, we're going to talk about the guild, as well as the enemy, as well as some of our thoughts. Okay, so that's the Marbella arc concluded. Let's talk now about the guild.
Let's do it. This is arc 3, baby. We have many more arcs left to go. Welcome back, folks. Let's next talk about our third arc of the book, the guild. Okay, so the Spacing Guild, we have to like kind of, this is a mini arc, but we feel like we have to mention it because they are like around and there's whole chapters dedicated to these fucking guild characters, and so it's worth just like kind of explaining what's going on here, even though it's relatively small stuff.
Right.
Apparently, after 8 years of performative inventing, Crone and the Ixians have done it. They've created mathematical compilers, these reliable navigation machines that can be used instead of Spacing Guild's navigators.
Whoa,
This brand new technology.
Brand new.
Yeah, so let me pitch it to you, Leo. It's like
Yeah, sure.
It's like sort of a portable device,
Okay.
and you can maybe pack a couple of your favorite CDs with you in your purse, and then
Okay.
you can put the CDs in the device.
CDs are like vinyls. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, they're like smaller vinyls. You put them in the
Okay.
device, and the
Shiny
device
vinyls,
maybe
okay.
like can clip onto your belt or go in your pocket
Okay.
or something.
Cool.
And then you just wear these earbuds, and you get music on the
Whoa.
go.
Whoa. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Brand new.
I'm thinking maybe I'll call it like the
Walk guy,
the
maybe?
Trot Man,
Like a drop
or
man?
Trot Man, or
Trot man.
the Strut Man. Maybe I'm still workshopping the name for what it could be called.
Leggy boy.
So they
Man.
invent a thing that's been around for 1,500 years, essentially. Everyone since Heretics of Dune has been using technology to get around the galaxy, and guild navigators have been obsolete forever. But again, as we explained in our last episode about this book, Brian and Kevin have decided to completely retcon that idea so we can have this whole pointless plot taking place.
But also at the same time, because they can't have anything be consistent, in this very book, multiple times, characters will very confidently go from point A to point B without using a guild navigator.
Yep.
And with no risk, no chance of failure, nothing. Just like, oh yeah, we sent scouts over to that other planet and here's what they found. It's all the fucking time in this book.
Answer how they got there. Answer me.
Answer me. Oh, a leggy boy? Yeah, likely story.
So again, I don't know why any of this is happening. And there is no payoff, to be clear. The guild arc of this book just kind of peters out. And will there be payoff in Sandworms? I don't know. Frankly, I don't want to know, but I guess we'll find out. A couple of other notable things in this guild arc. Edric, recall him. Edric with a K, not a C. He ends up having this like random tea date with the Oracle of Time. Remember the Oracle of Time? And the Oracle is like, hey man, don't worry. This new technology, quote unquote new technology that Crone invented, it's going to make you obsolete. But what you should do is go create artificial spice and break Marbella's monopoly, so you don't have to rely on the Sisterhood for all your spice. And that way you get to still be around. And you should go do that by making a gola of a Tleilaxu master, because they will remember how to make spice and axolotl tanks. So Edric goes to meet with Helica and Uxtal and demands that that gets done.
Yeah.
Helica's price for that demand um, is, of course, the glassing of Richeese, which we talked about earlier. So Edric is like, fine, you make me the Gola, I'll help you attack the Bene Gesserit and take out Richeese. So that's how that whole deal goes down.
Right.
Finally, the last thing worth saying about this guild arc is that there's this random one-off chapter from the Oracle of Time's perspective where we learn that the Oracle has been tracking human events forever, including the God Emperor, and has somehow gone unknown among all of that for all 6 of Frank Herbert's books. And now the Oracle is kind of chilling and tracking the Tachyon net, trying to find this old couple out there.
Yeah.
But just sort of randomly gives up. Is like, well, I shouldn't really check so much, you know?
Yeah.
There's still more book left to go, and I got to make sure I sell another book later. So let me not solve any problems too quickly with my godlike powers.
There's another book coming. Better slow my roll. Don't want to do too much in this book.
So literally, like, just kind of randomly decides, like, that's enough. It's too dangerous probably to keep searching. And then in this chapter, I guess, again, this is played off like some huge reveal, but who the fuck cares? And also, who would even know? We learn the Oracle of Time was actually Norma Senva, who is a character nobody would know unless you've read the goddamn Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson prequel books, where Norma Senva is revealed to be one of the original navigator, I think, or something like that. One of the founders of the guild. And it's just like, okay. And then this whole arc just sort of peters out. That's it. We never come back to it.
Yeah. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And frankly, again, it's like, sure, the first navigator is still alive out in the... Like, no, none of that really tracks. And it is very much the bullshit that, like, Norma Senva in the prequel books, we've talked about how that character, like, breaks Dune lore all the time. You know, can just
she teleports. She teleports around the galaxy
with people. And it's like, fold space, the like here one heartbeat, there the next heartbeat, does not exist in Dune until Heretics of Dune. Before that, it takes time. It takes like a full month for the House Atreides to get to Arrakis from Caladan. It's not instantaneous warping until Heretics. But of course, Brian and Kevin don't know that. So when they started writing their prequel books, they were just like, yeah, they're warping everywhere. Yep. Even though, again, that breaks things. You know, it's so wild.
It's so stupid. I also want to call out, so Normal Senva, one of our lovely patrons in the chat here, she says that I think Normal Senva exists in the encyclopedia but is a completely different person, and that is true. So we did an episode about the origins of the Spacing Guild a long time ago.
It's true. Yeah.
And in that episode we talk about Norma Senva as essentially one of the founders of the Spacing Guild, and her life story in the encyclopedia is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And look, I legally am not making any accusations of plagiarism, but seems highly suspicious to me that you also come up with the name Norma Senva for your own book as the founder of the Spacing Guild when it was already published 20 years before your fucking books came out in the encyclopedia.
Yeah. I don't want to do the like double checking. I want to say that in an appendices somewhere, the name is used in Frank's books. The Dune encyclopedia authors wrote this whole thing about it. And I want to say it's also like Sevna. Like, I feel like the name got changed.
Yeah, the spelling
like
has been constantly shuffled around for sure.
So I'm like, there are for sure some things that like McNelly even talked about on a message board being like, yeah, Brian and Kevin like stole that from me. But
yeah. They steal a lot from the encyclopedia. They decanonized it and then just like lifted entire things from it.
It's so
But yeah, you might be right. There might be like an appendices where Norma Senva is named by Frank. I might be misremembering that.
but I think that the broader thing here is like this book contains like five reveals that would not make any sense if you didn't read like the 6 to 9 books that Brian and Kevin wrote before this book,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And that's dumb. Also, I mentioned the whole like Fenring stabbed Paul is how that blade came to have Paul's blood on it was from Paul of Dune, which hadn't even been published yet. So there was like shit being referenced that hadn't even been made into canon yet. It's so weird. Anyway, I guess that carries us into our fourth arc. So let's talk about
Let's talk
Uxtal
about it.
and the Honored Matres. So we've got Uxtal.
If you thought unbelievable shit was happening so far in the book, just you wait. This arc for me personally is maybe the most unbelievable one.
Oh, and we've got a fact check from live chat. In God Emperor, she is mentioned. Okay, very cool. Yeah,
Okay.
I
So there we
want to
go.
say
A Frank
that
creation. So
so Frank creation,
great
but
correction.
and
Thank
then
you.
expanded by the Dune Encyclopedia authors who
Yes,
had
given a full backstory in the encyclopedia.
yeah, because McNelly, I think even I found a letter recently that was saying McNelly had gotten an early before God Emperor of Dune was even published. He had seen it. So like and actually no, yeah, and the encyclopedia came out right after that. Anyway, okay, cool. Thank you for the fact checked. As Vivag. As Vivag? Okay. Anyway, our fourth arc follows Uxtal and the Honored Matre. Now, Uxtal has been tugged between Crony's orders, and Helika's demands. And this arc, I would say, kicks off with Edric's request for a resurrected Tleilaxu master. So again, Edric, after his Oracle of Time meeting, is like, oh, right, we should bring back a Tleilaxu master because one of them would know how to make artificial spice, and then we could break the spice monopoly that the Bene Gesserit have. Now, bafflingly, this had not occurred to Uxtal in like 13 years of trying everything he could not to die, literally doing anything within his power. At no point was he like, well, I know we don't know how to make artificial spice, but maybe one of the old masters does. And maybe, I don't know, I should ask people. No, does not occur to him. So he mentions it to Helika. He's like, well, that's not possible because we, of course, don't have any living tissue or tissue of the old masters. And Helika's like, you stupid son of a bitch, we got a bunch of those guys back there. And he's like, what? She takes him to the basement where they have the like serial life golas, the like next life golas for the masters. They found them. They just found the whole room of them, and they have like rigged them up to be sperm factories. So they're like just harvesting a bunch of the honored mount. They're just harvesting a bunch of the like Tleilaxu master sperm, and as like a sickened version of the like. Well, obviously the Tleilaxu make women into wombs, so here we've made the men into only sperm. But she also doesn't really justify why. She's like, just in case we need it. But then it's like a lot of work. Really, she just did it for the poetic justice, I think. Um, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It's not really highlighted. And again, just serves to be convenient that they have the the Tleilaxu masters that they can
Mm-hmm.
like sample cells from.
Mm-hmm.
So this kicks off Uxtal's new job, which is growing golas of the Tleilaxu master Tilwith Waff from Heretics of Dune. So he's got to grow a bunch of those. Um, okay, grow a bunch of those. So Uxtal, who, to be clear, didn't know how to do anything when he was like made the person in charge of doing everything,
Yeah.
he suddenly becomes like an expert in growing golas. He uses, quote, a forbidden, unstable acceleration process derived from genetic traits associated with a formerly incurable aging disease, end quote, to speed up the WAF pipeline because it's going to take too long otherwise. And so 3 years later, the WAF Golas are physically mature. They are physically mature, but they are also feral. They're like wild children, and they're also telepathic. They can like talk to each other in their minds. And again, they hunt in packs like velociraptors in Jurassic Park. So they lure him into their enclosure, and like one of them's like, ah, my arm, and Uxtal is like, oh damn, better go in there and see if he's okay, even though he's constantly like, yeah, who cares if a couple of them die? We've got like 24 more of them growing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, better check on that one. He goes in, gets surrounded, and then they like jump him and they're like biting him and scratching
Yeah,
him,
they're like beating him up, like pop, pop, pop.
beating him up. and and I'm like, genuinely, Uxtal is irredeemably stupid. Like he is the whole chapter, he's like, these stupid little kids. And then he gets fucking tricked like this. I I'm like, I think they wrote this character for me to hate him through the entire book with no like redeeming qualities at all. So yeah, that's like the beginning. So he's growing these Golas so that he can reawaken them and learn how to make artificial spice.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. Let's shift over to Kaladin,
Yeah.
where Crone is up to some shit. If you'll recall, Crone is raising the Gola of Vladimir Harkonnen over on Kaladin. And while he's doing that, the old couple send this entourage of like half robot, half dead body carcasses that are like resurrected. I kind of imagine them like walking around, like necks tilted to the side, like buzz, 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 buzz.
Yeah, yeah,
And they show up for no reason. There's actually no payoff for them showing up at all in this whole book. But
they could have been an email.
they
their whole arc, the whole team could have been an email.
certainly. But they're like, we're here per the old couple's orders to keep an eye on you, Crone, because your plans are taking too long and they're going so slow and we don't trust you. And Crone's like, sure, whatever. I'll add you to all my meetings this week.
Yeah.
2 years later, so that happens for some reason. And then 2 years go by. Young Vladimir Harkonnen is now 12 years old, and he's told that his purpose in life, the whole reason they brought him back, is to help raise the new Paul Gola, which, quote, which they have, quote, named Paolo to distinguish him from his historical counterpart, end quote.
Dude. I raged so hard at this, and then I immediately went to the Discord to like vent my frustrations because no, that's not why they
No.
named him Paolo. Like that
No.
this has never been a concern. And do you know how I know that they don't name Golas to distinguish them from their historic counterparts? We got all the other ones.
That are all named the exact name that they are copied from.
Yeah. Like Adept Karen is saying in the chat. Remember when in Messiah they named Duncan the Duncan Gola Duncano? Yeah. It was the hardest part of Leto 2's long life was coming up with hundreds
Coming
of
up
new
with
names.
so many names for Duncan.
So
That's
many
true.
names. Marco Paolo is so funny. God damn. I will say this now. I think it is at this point with the like Paolo, with the shit that's happening with like Vladimir, the upcoming agony boxes. I legitimately think that this book is like actually only like 2 degrees from being really good, like really genuinely great as a like satire comedy.
Yeah.
Like the number of times in this book that I actually was laughing at how just completely absurd it was.
Yeah.
The problem is it's so self-serious and it so takes itself so seriously and it's so like, look at this crazy reveal, but it's just so bad. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
none of it
if
is played for laughs, but it is
Yeah.
comical start to finish.
Yeah.
Someone earlier in the chat mentioned Spaceballs, and I think
Yeah,
that
dude.
that is completely apt. Like everything Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have written in the Dune universe is the Spaceballs to the original Star Wars. Like it is
Yeah.
just a comical self-parody of this
Yes.
universe.
And again, and I'm not even anti self-parody. in the universe. Like I think that would be kind of fun, you know, like Terry Pratchett writing a Dune book could be very fun. But it does need to be self-aware and it does need to know what it's doing. This book is neither of those things, so it is just bad. But
Yeah.
there were moments when I could almost see the glimmer of the diamond of self-parody like buried in all the shit. All of the slig slime was like covering it, but I could tell. I was like, oh, there's some goodness here. It just needs to be extracted and made entirely parody. And then it would
Yeah.
be super fun.
The chat is fucking popping off on Paolo. Sorry, I'm just giggling.
Don't take pal. Oh my
Normal Senva's like Waluigi vibes.
god. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Walla Paolo. Oh my god. Y'all are too
Wah.
funny. It's so funny. Oh god, it's horrible. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. We've mentioned this before in previous Brian Herbert discussions, but it does read like parody. It's all sort of this like self-serious joke that doesn't realize we are all laughing at you and not with you.
Truly. Yeah.
And it would almost work better, to your point. It would almost work better completely reworked entirely as a comedy, as a
Yeah.
parody,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
as like an
Yeah,
over
yeah.
the top gag.
Yeah.
With very little tweaks. I feel like, you know, you cut out this some of the self seriousness, and what's left over is like an over the top Spaceballs version of Dune. You
Yeah.
just cut out some of the parts where it takes itself too seriously, which is not that much, you know. Like it's most of the way there. Like you're saying, it's like just 2 degrees off, and it could be like this hilarious joke. But alas, it thinks it isn't. Here's
Well,
another thing that's
yeah.
extremely funny in this book.
Yeah.
I legitimately could not imagine this was happening. Over on Kaladin, again, we're with Vladimir, we're with Crone, we're on Kaladin. Crone decides at this point that Vladimir, who's like a little shithead this whole time,
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
to be more of a shithead. So let's awaken him and let's bring back the Baron. Let's bring his memories back. And the way he's going to do this is just by torturing him, just like pure pain.
Yeah.
And one way in which he attempts to torture Vladimir and bring back the Baron's memories is to use the Bene Gesserit pain box on him, which at first, when I got like one sentence into this scene, I was like, damn, cool. Maybe there's something
Yeah.
like poetic to mirror Paul Atreides' greatest enemy and grandfather experiencing the same box that awoke Paul Atreides. Wow, the symmetry. It all comes around. What goes around comes around. Justin Timberlake. But what is so funny about this scene is that Crone decides one pain box is not enough. Vlad is like a sadomasochist. He enjoys the pain, actually. It's not awakening his memories. Instead, he uses 4 pain boxes. 1 on each hand, 1 on each foot, baby. And I put in our script, he should have strapped a 5th one to his dick for good measure, honestly. Also, it doesn't work. Vlad is like, oh, the pain. I love it. It hurts so good.
He loves the pain. He loves the pain. I wrote in my copy, and I'm trying to find. Okay, I just searched feet. Spring to their feet. Edges struggling to his feet. Bare feet. Feet. So many feet. Oh my God, Quentin Tarantino is so happy right now. Fuck. I wrote I would rate this book on Goodreads 5 out of 5 if it slowly escalated to 65 pain boxes just all over his body. Like I was
Right.
like, listen,
Right. One
if-
strap to each nipple. Like, come on, let's get in there.
I was like, yeah, you just cover. Because also I'm going, wait, like, isn't this like the Bene Gesserit like pain box is like kind of I imagine it's like a relic in the Bene Gesserit, and they use
Yep.
it in this like ritual, and it's like an important. Where the fuck did you get
Where did they get
4
that?
Bene Gesserit pain boxes? And I'm like, it's incredible. Like again, fully, I would forgive everything if just the next chapter was like Baron covered in 37 pain boxes. It's so funny.
No, that's the thing. They think this is serious. They think this is not funny, but it's funny.
It's
They dug up 4 pain boxes, a top secret Benny Gesserit technology somehow, and strapped those to Vlad. And the funniest part is it doesn't work.
Yeah, I
Vladimir
want
gets
Baron.
tortured for the next 3 years in these
Yeah.
chapters, just increasingly more and more torture. And for some reason, this 12-year-old freak is like, I love it, give me
Dude,
more.
I
And
want him to.
this nothing happens. Like it doesn't trigger the
Yeah,
memories one bit.
I wanted him to go, Crone, what's in that box? And Crone goes, pain. And then he goes, okay, what's in that box? Also pain. Okay, what about that box? Pain again. Oh, okay. What's in that? And then just just like 3 pages of like, and that box, also pain. It's all pain.
Ugh,
All of
it's
them
awful.
pain.
It's so awful. Okay, here's one part that I thought, gosh, again, when you dig through all the shit as we've been
Yeah,
wading through in this book, you do accidentally like stumble upon like one kernel of gold. And I
yep,
thought this was actually pretty brilliant.
dude,
What
I like
finally
this.
gets Vladimir Harkonnen to awaken for the Baron's
Yes,
memories to finally come back is Crone puts Vlad inside a sensory deprivation chamber.
which which Vladimir initially thinks is a full body pain box, which I was also like, that is
They
very
made the
funny.
box bigger.
They made the box big. They got a big one. I was like, hey, that's pretty funny. Like, that's a funny interpretation. After 3 years of just pain boxes, he's like, whoa, they got a big pain box. I was like, sick. And you're right, sensory deprivation chamber. Brilliant. What a good idea.
Brilliant. What a good. Somehow they stumbled upon a good idea by accident. You know, you give a monkey a typewriter for long enough and a long enough timeline, he's going to write Shakespeare. That's kind of what happened here. Like, this is brilliant. We have talked time and time again. We did a whole deep dive episode on the Baron a long time ago. The Baron lives for pleasure
Yeah.
of every kind,
Yeah.
and to take away all senses from young Vlad is the antithesis of that. A character that has for his entire life steeped himself in the pleasures of the flesh, of food, of the mind, torturing other people and out strategizing them. He enjoys being smarter than people. All of these things, you take it away and give him nothing. Now he exists in the void. That breaks Vlad enough for him to regain the Baron's memories. I thought it was actually pretty damn cool.
Yeah. I would say as we continue to like try to sift through this book and probably the next book and like figure out what things were in the book 7 notes, I could see this being a thing. Like, we got the Gola in the null entropy tube. Maybe Baron Gola is brought back in Frank's 7 notes, and his awakening is sensory deprivation. Because, like, this feels so thematically accurate. It feels like like bullseye.
Yeah.
And I just do not trust that these 2 authors would hit that bullseye.
No.
Also, because Crone, a face dancer from the scattering, clearly has no idea how to awaken someone's memories, fails for 3 years, is crazy to me. And then Uxtal later is like, hey, you all better wake up. Get your memories back right now, or I'll be really mad. And I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? They have no idea how to work with Golas. It's incredible. So yeah, this feels so spot on. I'm like, this has got to be a Frank idea. I don't know why he would have written that in the notes, but like, that's great. I think that's like really understands the idea of the Gola awakening. Again, Duncan Idaho, an
Yeah.
ultimately loyal person, betrayal, forcing him to
To force
betray
him
is how
to
you.
kill. Yeah. Yep.
That's how you awaken him. You know, for for Vladimir, yeah, that's spot on. That's so good. Yeah, I like
It's so
that a
good.
lot.
Okay, well, enough complimenting this book because it immediately becomes so bad that it becomes a parody once again. As soon as Vladimir, now Baron Harkonnen, gets his memories back, the weirdest thing this book maybe does happens. He
Insane.
starts
Yeah.
hearing Alia Atreides' voice inside his head. He now has other memory Alia Atreides in his head.
Yeah.
How?
Genuinely, how? he he should not have other memory first because he's not an awakened person. This isn't a genetic memory.
Nope.
Uh, Abomination doesn't make sense because he wasn't in the womb. He doesn't have, this isn't an ancestor of
During
his.
like a spice agony. Yeah.
In
Right.
fact, it's
Right.
someone who,
3, Alia is not an ancestor of his.
yeah, she happened after him. 4, the Baron possession of Alia happened long after Baron died, and only because Baron Harkonnen was an ancestor of Alia. This isn't like they aren't connected in any other way. So that doesn't make any goddamn sense. There are so many things wrong with this that it's like we already know that Brian and Kevin don't give a shit about like Dune lore, but
No.
this is one of those things that breaks so many rules and only really makes sense as like a you've been smoking a lot of weed for like multiple hours and you're like, dude, what if? Wait, whoa, 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 what if? What if Baron was possessed by Alia? And you're like, oh man, that's good. That's the only way that
That's
this makes
deep,
sense.
man. That's deep. Flipping the
That's
script.
deep, bro. Put it in the book. Put it. Send it to the publisher right now. Oh,
It's just I don't know. The thing is like at this point some things are becoming clear to me and other things are becoming fuzzy. For example, it's becoming very clear to me that Brian Herbert is not an intelligent man.
uh-huh.
Because even if you wanted to milk your father's IP to be rich and stay rich and like be relevant and whatever, a smarter person would do that more carefully and not
Sure.
so openly and like in the limelight, right? Like I don't think it's defensible in any way to say what Brian Herbert has done with the IP wasn't just to milk it for himself. So I don't like it's clear he's not a smart man. The words in this book make it clear he's not a smart man.
Yeah.
And then what is getting fuzzier for me here is like any claims, again, going back to the notes, like any claims that any of the, like what has made its way into Hunters and presumably into Sandworms, which we'll cover later, had anything to do with what Frank might have written down for his 7th book. You know, like
Yeah.
we're trying to find little kernels of like gold here and there in the shit pile. But I hesitate to even like conjecture whether these came from some supposed notes anyway. Like, so little of this just makes sense that I'm getting fuzzier and fuzzier on whether I think the notes even exist or even if these books had anything to do with the notes. It's
Yeah,
wild
I
stuff.
think I see enough like with the Phibians and with the I don't know. There's a few things where I'm like, I could see this being in Frank's notes for book 7. He had said in an interview that he had enough open like questions to explore, that there's enough material for a book 7. But again, when he published book 6, he did not have a plan for book 7. He didn't have a plan to write it. This wasn't like the needed ending of book 6 when he sent book 6 to the publisher. It was the end. So I do think that there are notes that he had for like what could I explore, and I do think that Brian and Kevin have them and probably looked at them. Now, do they make any sense to Brian and Kevin if they didn't read Heretics and Chapter House? Who's to say? They were like, we read most of the first one. How weird could it get? So I don't know. I'm right there with you. I think I do like though the idea. We've talked about this of like trying to suss out what in these last 2 books actually could be Frank's notes and to kind of like reverse engineer Frank's notes from these last 2 books.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'm getting at is like that feels like a futile attempt to
It would be like
help ourselves sleep better at night, I guess. Like, you know, it feels so futile because it's all just wrapped in so much shit. Like maybe this Vladimir Harkonnen being reawoken by sensory deprivation is like a thing Frank might have jotted down on a napkin somewhere, but he most certainly didn't jot down and then Alia's voice comes back, you know? And so it's like,
right.
how much of this, how many threads are we gonna, like how many hairs are we gonna split here to try and figure out what Frank may have put in those notes?
Yeah,
could be a fun exercise, but like ultimately it just feels so futile to me emotionally.
Like if I wanted Baron to hear Alia's voice, what I would do as a huge fan of Dune is I would say, Baron, as like 3 generations removed from Paul, gets like crazy spice overdose at some point, like the Gola of Baron Harkonnen, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen gets like a crazy spice overdose, and he has, because he is so close to the Kwisatz Haderach generationally, he has like the glimpses of a vision of Alia's voice, and he, because that is the child who killed him in his first, he like panics. So he hears Alia speak to him because she's in the future, because someone's brought her back. You know, like that's like, okay, maybe that would work. Um, but I don't know. I mean, again, it's
Yeah.
like I genuinely don't even know how we get to get to this point with any kind of Dune lore. Um, and then Alphemus actually asked an interesting question that I just want to put out to the audience, because I will say sometimes that I think Phibians are in Frank's notes for book 7, because I want to say there is a reference in Heretics or Chapter House
Yeah.
of planet Buzel having like amphibian people, or
Yeah.
like something about like an amphibian, is something like
There
that
is.
possible?
Yeah. I can't recall exactly what the one throwaway sentence about Buzel was, but when Buzel comes up in those books, there's like a throwaway line about amphibious natives or something.
Yeah. And that makes me think like I I'll actually table that for later, because I think we should have a meaningful conversation at some point during this recording or during a future episode on what we think book 7 was going to be about. Remember, I texted you about like the question of humanity, and I think that is something to say. Anyway, um,
Yeah,
let's
we
continue.
got so sidetracked off of goddamn Vladimir Harkonnen. That's
Vladimir
basically
Harkonnen.
there's nothing more to say there anyway. That's where Crone and Vladimir and Marco Paulo's storyline ends basically in this book.
Yeah,
That's it.
Marco, Paolo. Well, anyway, back with Uxtal. It is time to awaken the Wafgolas. Helica and Edric come to watch because you'll love to have an audience during performance day. And Uxtal reverts to knowing absolutely nothing about Golos. He was an expert. He knew the like restricted secret techniques, and now he doesn't know anything because he's like, "Hey, you all better remember things."
I'm
And
just a
they're like,
baby.
"What? No." And he's like, "You better." And then they don't, because of course that doesn't fucking work. So Ingva, the like right hand gal to Helica, starts killing them, and they like all experience psychic pain because they're linked psychically for some fucking reason. And she kills them one at a time. She then puts a knife to the temple of the last one, and she's like, "I'm gonna count down from 10, and at the counting down, I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah.
And apparently, this numbers, the counting, ends up being the way that this last Waf Gola does awaken, but only partially. This also kind of wraps up this whole thing with like, in Brian and Kevin's books, it seems like the Tleilaxu are like numerologists. Like they study numbers and math is how they understand the universe. So again, like Uxtal is constantly going, I'm trying to find the right numbers to see if this is God's plan or if this is all whack, that sort of thing. So that's also part of this, is like, oh, the thing that helped awaken Waf's memories is partially the numbers, the counting, the numbers. Okay, and that's what awakens him. But again, only partially. So Waf's memories are jumbled. They're missing key pieces of the spice manufacturing know-how, but Uxtal basically realizing that if this Waf is killed, like this is kind of, he's going to be seen as a failure. So he's like, it worked. Give us some alone time. And then he's like, you fucking better remember, uh, quickly remember the things that you don't remember. Now, Merbella arrives in the skies over Tleilax, and Waf is called to the palace. So he thinks it's a meeting with Helica, but it turns out it's actually a meeting with Ingva, because Ingva is like, it's time to sexually bond you. You've been just sluttily walking around with no one having sexually bonded you. Look at what you're wearing. So she's like, I'm going to
Ew.
sexually bond you, you weird little man. And Uxtal's like, oh no, I had my genitals removed by Crone, so she can't do it. And then Ingva is like, Uno reverse card. I still can sexually bond you. It's just going to be more work. And she rolls up her sleeves as she gets ready to rape Uxtal. Hooray. Now, Mirbella's assault on the palace commences. Uxtal is walking home, shaken from his experience being sexually bonded to Ingva, which apparently worked, except Ingva ends up in the fighting and ends up wounded, and he finds himself compelled to her voice. He comes to her, and she's there on the ground, an abdominal wound, and she goes, "Help me, help me." And he helps her by stomping on her neck until she's dead. And I'm like, wait, so the sexual bonding didn't happen, or like I don't understand at all. And but what I do understand is that you've now killed another woman, that another character who's named, and for really no reason, and it doesn't really make any sense. But he stomps on her neck. He kills this woman, and then he's like, "I'm free. I'm finally free." He's delighted. So he escapes. He gets kind of like chased-ish by some Bene Gesserit. Maybe they were honored Matre. He's not sure. He ends up at the Slig farmer's farm and like crawls under something to hide because he's afraid of these women coming after him. They also just like disappear and don't show up at all. And then the Slig farmer comes home and he gets, and Uxtal's story ends as he's eaten by Sligs. The Slig farmer like throws some body parts next to him, and the Sligs, these slug pigs, manage to overpower Uxtal, who gets eaten and dies screaming as he's eaten by Sligs.
Why any of that needed to happen, I have no idea. Why have this random sexual assault and then stomping on a woman's neck until she's dead, just so both of these characters can essentially die like 2 chapters later? It just, all of it is just like a big why. Outside of like, you're like horny for violence, I think. Like, what is this? It's like gross.
That is like genuinely my active theory, is that they have like a torture like edgelord, like they like writing shit that's like upsetting, and they have like kinks around killing, around dismemberment, around that sort of thing. Because also I was like, Uxtal got like his genitals mutilated by Crone right at the beginning, and I kept waiting for that to pay off and to be a thing, and then it never was. And then Ingva bonds him anyway.
Right. And then it never is, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't pay off.
Because it doesn't matter. So then I'm like, what was any of this? Like, there was no reason to have that. It doesn't pay off. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah. As Big Ag said, it's peak. And like peak in like the inverted way. Like the highest point of the lowest place in the universe. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, let's wrap up this awful Uxtal Tleilaxu arc. We have to figure out what happens with the surviving Waff. As you'll recall, there's one Waff left. He makes it out alive. He, in fact, makes it to a scrapyard. He talks to a random farmer, Tleilaxu farmer or whatever, and he's like, "Yo, I'm Waff, Master of Masters." Well, he's like a kid, actually. He's like, "Yo, I'm Waff, Master of Masters. Give me your ship." And the farmer is just like, "Yeah, kid, you must be Waff, Master of Masters. Here's the keys to my car."
Yeah.
And then Waff just takes the ship and flies up past an invasion happening. Let's not forget that Mirbella is mid-invasion of the planet right now. So
like
Waff somehow...
all honored Matre, and then a ship possibly containing important honored Matre personnel is off, leaving the planet. No problem.
There's a ship leaving the planet randomly from this farmer's scrapyard, and Waff is on it. He somehow navigates this battle happening, in orbit, and makes it to the...
can fly a ship just fine. Yeah.
Makes it to the Guild Highliner so that he can have a meeting with Edric, because he wants to make a pitch. He's like, "This is the only way I'm going to survive. Uxtal is dead. The Honored Matre are dead. The Bene Gesserit, if they capture me, I'm going to be dead. And so I need to make a pitch to Edric." Here's his pitch. Quote,
"His pitch is unbelievable."
Quote, wouldn't you rather have your own sandworms? Advanced worms that can create a more potent spice for you and your navigators, and only for you. I am in possession of certain genetic knowledge. Perhaps we can reach a mutually beneficial agreement. End quote.
It's just so, it's baffling.
What do
It's
you
truly
think?
baffling.
You gonna invest $1 trillion in my company, in my startup? What do you think?
Yeah. It's
And
like,
Edric is like, cool.
dude, okay, in that like invest in my company, Edric's like, hey, you have this. The whole reason you fucking exist is you have the ability to print money starting now. And he's like, how about this? Yeah, yeah, you could like print money,
Right,
but
like,
what if 10 to 1,000 years from now, depending on the growth of like biological things, you could maybe also print money? And it's like, shut the fuck up, print money right now. What do you mean?
what are you
The
talking about?
idea
Yeah, worms?
of I have certain it's like what in what way is worms an expeditious fast solution to Edric's dire problem of needing spice ASAP?
Right.
It it is a crazy pitch. And the fact that Edric is like, I'm listening. I like I like what you're saying, little man, about these worms. They're special worms, you say. Hmm. Are they sandworms of Dune? Like, it's
It's fucking
it's
stupid. It
crazy.
makes no sense. We have a listener in the
Oh,
chat asking if this is the same Edric from Messiah. No, this is Edric with a K. That was Edric with a C.
yeah, yeah.
This is a
You
different
spelled it
Edric.
wrong
He's
in
just
your
named
question.
exactly the same.
It's an Edric class navigator, though. Again, Edric with a C, class navigator, but his name is Edric with a K.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Okay,
this
that's
is
it.
just
That's this
wild.
arc. That's where things end.
Yeah,
Go.
and this carries us. Good lord, this carries us to the
Good
fifth
lord.
secret arc, and this is the enemy. This we get basically 5 chapters throughout the book that take place with the old couple, and we learn a lot about them, but we learn the most about them toward the end. So we learn at the end that the old couple are Erasmus and Omnius, and all the people who read all of Frank's books and then read this book go, who?
Who?
Who do you mean? Who are these people? And then we get this long explanation of how did they end up here? We know you're wondering. But of course, none of us are wondering because we don't know who you're talking about. We don't know who these characters are. Uh, and of course, this is just Brian and Kevin shoehorning their own lore into Frank's universe. And this is also the most egregious. Like, I think this is literally unforgivable.
Yeah.
It is clear to me that Daniel and Marty were first of all, they are explicitly face dancers in Frank's lore, but they're also clearly just kind of like metaphorically Frank and Beverly saying goodbye to the universe. And then for Brian and Kevin to come in and go, no, no, these are like the Terminator style evil robot characters that we invented out of scratch that also fundamentally misunderstand what the Butlerian Jihad was and ignores a bunch of shit that Frank wrote. Um, that's who Daniel and Marty actually are. And these two characters, Erasmus and Omnius, they believe they need a Kwisatz Haderach because Kralazek, the Typhoon struggle, the sort of like apocalypse, the Ragnarok at the end of the universe is coming, is about to happen, I guess. And they have calculated, using math and robots, they have calculated that they need a Kwisatz Haderach in order to be successful. And they have calculated that the Kwisatz Haderach is currently on or will be soon on the Ithaca no ship. They use their robot math to figure that out.
Cool. Again, everyone has prescience when the plot needs it,
Yeah,
including the robots.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. And again, clearly they have some sort of something because they were able to find the planet that was cloaked in no planet goo. You know, it's like they have whatever they need to have at any given moment to do what they need to do. Um, they also like they fire Crone at one point. Like the Ithaca arrives at the Handler planet and the Handlers are working for them. So they're like, "Hey, Crone, middle finger, fuck you, dude. We don't need you anymore. Here's a goddamn melon that doesn't exist. Deuces, you know, fuck off." And Crone's like, oh man, I'm going to continue just because I'm going to continue. Which, thank God, because then the fucking Ithaca escapes the Handler planet. So they're so dumb. They're like all so stupid and bad. So, anyway, they decide we don't actually need the Kwisatz Haderach. That all of the calculating, the tens of thousands of years of waiting, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's actually launch our fleet of like robot destroyer spaceships. Let's launch the fleet now. We're done with waiting. We're tired of waiting. Um, and of course, we see this like fleet of robotic warships as Greek triremes, basically like the ships that like Odysseus and like that sort of thing. It's like all Greek shit. I feel like one of them looked up the Odyssey
Yeah.
a few like months before writing this book and is like, yeah, and triremes and like all this shit. It's like very forced and weird and doesn't really land um, at all. Uh, doesn't really land at all. And the other thing that we kind of learn as they show us this vision of the warships as triremes is that like anytime we're seeing the garden and the old couple, these are all like robot visions. They're like robot metaphors made real through holograms or something. Um, just it again, that doesn't really do anything. It's not important, but it's mentioned. So there you go.
Yeah. And then the TLDR version of these characters, essentially, all sort of info dumped and exposition explained in the last chapter of this book, is that Omnius isn't some sort of old man. He's actually an entire robotic city called Synchrony, and he's like the hive mind that controls all the robots. And
Yeah.
Erasmus is this like Terminator style flow metal robot. They
Yeah.
both survived the Battle of Corin, which is what ended the Butlerian Jihad. And Omnius survived by throwing a copy of himself and Erasmus out into deep space, a Hail Mary out into the unknown. And that copy of him encountered some old machine probe from centuries earlier. And thus, something happened, and Omnius was able to rebuild himself way out here on the far edge of the known universe
Yeah.
over the last
Truly,
thousands and thousands of years.
as I understand it, it's like a USB thumb drive and like an Explorer probe somehow built a robot city. And I'm
Right.
like, uh, Which one of those had everything it needed to create a robot
To
city?
create an entire
Because
robot city
yeah,
and,
it's
and a fleet of robots, et cetera, et cetera.
and also they
Anyway,
randomly hit each other in the universe. It's like space is big, folks. This is
yes.
none of this is probable at all.
No. We also get info dumped about the face dancers for some reason in this chapter. Some face dancer, or we learn that some Tleilaxu master named Hidar Fen Ajitika improved the original face dancer design and created these like new ones that are undetectable and that the old couple
Hmm.
now use for their own devices. And he did that all the way back in Paul's time, but just didn't
Yeah,
tell anybody.
but didn't tell anyone. Didn't share his improved face dancers with the other Tleilaxu masters. Like he's like a rogue master or something.
Yeah. So that explains that. Don't think too hard about it.
No questions. Crystal
And that's
clear.
it. This fucking book ends as these two evil robots send their big evil robot fleet out toward humanity, out toward the Imperium, and they do it essentially like you were saying earlier. They stop waiting for the Kwisatz Haderach and waiting to catch the Ithaca. It's taking too long and it's getting too annoying. They are just like, whatever, fucking pull the trigger, let's go, because they are tired of waiting. They got impatient, even though in this very book these words are spoken. Quote, nothing can match the patience of machines, end quote.
Yeah,
Nothing apparently except the plot, which
yeah.
needs to move along. And so the machines are now invading. And that's where this
Brian and
fucking book
Kevin,
ends.
Brian and Kevin go out of their way multiple times to be like 15,000 years is nothing to a robot's patience, and then we're like 10 years out from guaranteed Krone's going to have a Kwisatz Haderach for you to know that you're going to win Kralazek, and they're like, yeah, but
Nah.
10 years? Oh no, I'm tired. I'm bored. I'm bored. Nothing matches the patience of, but I'm bored. I'm tired. It's like, God, it's so terrible.
It's so fucking
Well,
stupid.
we are going to now share our opinions about this book and how much we loved it. Uh, don't go anywhere. This is our last break, I promise. We're going to share some final thoughts. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, so Abu, that's the entire book. Let's uh let's share our final thoughts. We loved it. I mean, great book, right?
Yeah, no. So here's all the things we hated about this fucking book, in addition to all the things we've named so far. Um, Welcome back, folks. Let's wrap up today's episode by continuing this therapy session and now kind of continuing it with our full chests.
Yeah.
We've named many things we've hated about this book, and here are a couple more.
Yeah.
And to be clear, this is normally in a book club episode where during a Frank series, we like, and to be clear, during a normal book club episode covering a Frank Herbert book, this is where we would have a takeaway. We would have done hours and hours of research on a topic. We would break down some of Frank's philosophy and themes and maybe even take like one scene and really break it down line by line because there's so many layers and talk about all 10 layers that Frank is playing with. None of that exists in this book, so there's not really a takeaway for us to take away from this goddamn book. So instead, we're just going to wrap up today's conversation by just kind of listing the miscellaneous other shit in this book that we hated that we just, didn't get to in the summary earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing that we didn't mention earlier that I was so tickled by and is again would be quite good in a like self-aware parody, but is in this book instead, is when I believe it's Stilgar and Liet Kynes, the Gola children, are looking down in the sandworm hold, and they see
Yeah.
Shiana dancing with the 7 sandworms that are on the Ithaca. And the 7 sandworms notice the 2 children. They're like giant sandworm faces. Look up at the 2 children. And then the sandworms build a tower. They writhe on top of each other, and the 7 sandworms make a tower of sandworms that reaches up to the platform. And Alia like rides it up to the platform, and then it disperses, and the 2 kids are like, "Whoa, wow, that was cool."
Now that is so anime.
It's fucking incredibly anime. And I was like, I reread that multiple times because I was like, there's no way I'm properly understanding that we're getting like a worm Jenga tower of like, and again, because they're so smart and they like coordinate and they're Velociraptor, it's just baffling. So
It's
that was
baffling
something we
and
didn't
dumb.
get to mention earlier for sure.
That's right. Here's another detail we glossed over earlier in our summary. At one point in this book, Shiana speaks to other memory Serena Butler,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the person that kicked off the infamous Butlerian Jihad. Here's the problem, folks, and we simply can't emphasize this enough. And Shiana herself brings this up.
Yeah.
Serena, didn't your one and only child famously get killed by robots?
Wasn't that the whole
Which
thing?
thus
Yeah.
kicked off the Butlerian Jihad? So how are you my ancestor? How the fuck am I related to you? How are you in my other memory? And Serena Butler basically says, I kid you not. She basically says, don't worry about it. It is what it is. And
Because I'm
Shiana
here.
says, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Incredible.
Fucking stupid.
10 out of 10. Amazing. Um, another piece, right? We talked about the like sex battle that like cured Duncan of his love for Merbella, because that's how that works. Merbella, who also lost the love of her life, and granted, she went through the Reverend Mother awakening. She has her other memories. We knew that was going to shift her perspective on love a little bit, but even so, she thinks of Duncan like once throughout the entire book, and then just like doesn't really think of him much more at all. Merbella as a character is just not at all herself. there's also a line where like Janice is talking and Janice is like says some stupid ass quote. She's like, always kick a person in the throat or they might not lose. And Mirbella's like, is that another Duncan Idaho quote? Janice is like, no, but it's something he might have said. And Mirbella's like, sick. And I was like, this is so close to being funny and good. It's so close to being a really
Jesus
funny book.
Christ. Uh,
420
so
YOLO
stupid.
slag. Oh, is
Okay,
that a thing
I have
now?
another nit to pick with something we did mention earlier, but didn't get into the details. There was this assault on Gamu, as you recall. We attacked
Mm-hmm.
Gamu and took it over in an afternoon. And a thing that I texted you about is that there's a paragraph that describes the assault, the Valkyries, the Deus Ex Machina from Merbella. The
Mm-hmm.
Valkyries drop ship into Gamu's capital, which is dope. It's like, whoa, holy shit, you infiltrated the capital. That's amazing. Except exactly the paragraph right before
Uh-huh.
describes the incredible, nearly impenetrable defenses that the Honored Madre have set up around the capital.
Right.
And that's it.
Abu,
Let
you
that
have
sink
to
in.
you have to understand they were not writing this for someone who could remember what they had read a paragraph ago. They were writing this for someone who was on their phone the whole book. This is like the two screen viewing strategy of Netflix where they know you're not looking. They're
Yeah.
like they know you're not reading the book. So they just can do whatever they want, paragraph to paragraph. It's not fair of you to remember sentence to sentence. Crazy. Crazy.
I know.
I also, here's another thing. It's not even in our script, but I was thinking about this, and this needs to be highlighted because it made me so uncomfortable. And I'm curious, Abu, how did you feel about 8-year-old Chani kissing Paul on the cheek because she's like supposed to? Did that register
I
for
mean,
you? It's okay if
the
it didn't.
cheek kiss didn't register for me. I mean, it
Okay.
is what it is. I
Yeah.
thought it was dumb that I'll talk about it in a little bit in my next bullet point, but like I thought it was dumb that they love each other at all. Um,
Yeah.
so
the the whole thing with the Gola children, and again, this is like Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, the 12-year-old, kisses Crone on the mouth, like forcibly kisses this adult human on the mouth, and that was like a little weird. I was like, okay, we get, I guess, that he's like a crazy child, but this is also before his awakening, so this is just him being a chaotic child. I do not trust Brian and Kevin with like writing intimacy at all. And Paul and Chani, the children Golas, go off on their own and they're like to get privacy away from everyone else. And they're like holding hands and genuinely talking about how like intimate they should be as like they mirror their adult lives. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We don't need any of this. None of this is serving anything. And all it's doing is making me nervous because this is the author. These are the authors who wrote the like shitting and farting contest between children. This is the author who keeps sexually assaulting people. These are the authors who have no respect for women. I'm like, I don't need like children to be actively asking questions about like how intimate should you and I be together if we were in love, and like we're in love, right? I was like, this is not good territory for these authors to be exploring. I don't know, romance, love, connection, intimacy with children. No, 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 thank you.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
it's a
good.
landmine for sure. Or sorry, it's a it's a minefield for sure. You know,
Yeah.
it's like even if the intentions are like somewhat logical, like oh, these two kids have been told that they should love each other their whole lives, and so they're kind of just like testing that out. It's like okay, I'm nervous where this is going, and
Right.
one misstep, and you're gonna blow this up in the wrong way, and it's gonna get like weird and pedo. So
Yeah.
maybe just
And
like
I'm like,
don't walk into this minefield.
and what are you telling the 8-year-old girl about your relationship with Paul that you like they're talking about having their kids together and stuff, and I'm like, this is all very young to be talking about
Yeah,
your
it's way too young.
sexual relationship that your past lives had. And again, really not necessary. If you just
Yeah,
awoke Chani's memories and awoke Paul's memories, boom, Paul and Chani are back, Like, oh, very
yeah, they're
uncomfortable
not
for
awake.
me.
I mean, like this basically leads into my one of my biggest gripes of this book.
Hmm.
And another thing that genuinely made me sad, because if this is how Brian and Kevin view the world, it's a sad way to
Dude,
view the
yeah,
world.
yeah.
Um, Basically, how they treat all of these Gola children. Um, there's basically the assertion in this book. There's basically the assertion in this book that people are dictated by their genetics,
Hmm.
and not in like a, oh, you have a higher risk for diabetes because of your family history and
Right.
genetics or
Blue
whatever.
eyes. Whoa,
Like, no, in like a, you are a sadomasochist and you enjoy pain because of your genetics,
Right,
Vlad.
right.
And none of the Golas in this story are given the opportunity to evolve beyond being just hollow caricatures of their previous lives. And even when, like, oh gosh, there's this moment, there's like subtle questioning of that by Yui in particular, who gets like
Hmm.
one line in this book. Yui basically is like, I don't want to be myself. Like, I
I
was
don't
a
want to be a
traitor. Like,
traitor.
all the
Yeah,
histories about me call me one of the worst traitors in human history.
yeah,
I don't want to be that. I don't want those memories back. And both Shiana and Duncan, like the pseudo parents that these Golas look up to, right, just
yeah,
shrug it off and they're like, it is what it is, bub. That's who you are.
yeah,
And that to me is so heartbreakingly sad. Like, what? Is that what it is? Could Yui not try to be a different person?
yeah,
Especially being equipped with what previous Yui did? Could he not consciously make different choices and try to be someone else? According to this book, according to what Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have written about these Golas, no, because they're all dictated entirely, top to bottom, as people by their genetics and nothing else. And I think that's just
yeah,
so incredibly sad, to say that we are all doomed to be exactly who we were born as, and that nothing we do, that no force of our own will can change who we are deep down. I fundamentally don't believe that. And I find that to be a really um, restrictive is not the right word. What's the like small
confined. No, uh,
reductive.
reductive.
Um, and I find that to be just like a really reductive take on the human condition, on like on what it means to be people.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just a part of this book that makes me so incredibly sad.
yeah,
These kids deserved better, and frankly, we as readers deserved better through these kids. Like, if there is a version of the Golas that is fascinating,
mm-hmm,
where there are questions of, why are you so fucking different? We brought you back to be Gurney Halleck, and you're just some fuck up. Gurney Halleck was
yeah,
amazing. Why are you
yeah,
not Gurney Halleck? There could be some interesting tension at play here. But no, we're
yeah,
all just carbon copies of what we were genetically, and that is
yeah,
just what it is. And Yui, you're gonna grow up to be a traitor, bud. There's nothing you can do to change that. That's awful and sad, and
yeah.
I hate it.
Like, like, what if the foundation of Paul and Chani's attraction to one another was their strangeness and otherness from different places? And these two Golas, raised in the same environment, actually end up not really being that interested in one another because it's like, yeah, we don't have that. And then you could have whole conversations around how people seek out the unknown and the mysterious, and maybe lacking all of that is something
Yeah,
that gets in the way of curiosity. And what stimulates curiosity, what doesn't. You're right. I mean, it's so bleak, and they're not even consistent with that, right? Because like even with the Paulo thing, it's like, so you're saying Paulo, uh, Paulo is going to be evil because he's being raised by evil people, and then so maybe it is all just conditioning and it's not nature versus nurture or whatever. But then you also have characters like Doria, who multiple times in her chapter where she dies, she's like, I never changed. No matter how much I was taught, no matter how much I learned, I never changed. And you and I talked about it. Like, I fundamentally think The book How to Win Friends and Influence People, or whatever that book's called, is an obnoxious book for a lot of reasons. But one of the things that I do like from it was this thought experiment where if you strip away all of the circumstance of your life and you put yourself hypothetically in completely different circumstances, Leo Wiggins not born and raised in Berkeley, California to two white Buddhists, if I was born in Tennessee, and a very different education, given a whole different set of facts my whole life, would I today be like the polar opposite of myself politically? And the kind of point of that chapter is putting yourself in the position of like understanding, yes, I would in fact be very, very different. There isn't really that immutable, I don't know, like wherever your moral compass is now could not have been calibrated differently in completely different life circumstances. And again, regardless of if that's true or not, the point of it is to find commonality with other people. No matter how different someone is from you, they want the same things as you. And if you were to fully strip away all of your superficial, apparent differences, at the end of the day, you would see that same scared, loving, joyful, sad human that you are, and you would find common ground. And that's I like kind of fundamentally believe that, where it's like no matter how much I disagree with someone, we could peel away so many layers and then we get to that place of like commonality. In this fucking book, Doria and Belanda hate each other. And I was so excited when Merbella forced Doria to take Belanda's memories because I was like, oh, what a cool moment, when Odrade and Taraza, despite their differences, Odrade gets all of Taraza's memories and she goes, oh, I get it. Oh, that's interesting. And it's understanding because you've brought down all of those artificial barriers between two humans and now it's just understanding. And instead, Doria's like, I'm stuck with this bitch in my head. Fuck her. Oh, she's the worst. I feel terrible. I've got a terrible person in my head. And I'm like, what a bleak, cynical, sad, and depressing way to live life that you think this way about
Yeah.
people, about characters. It's
Yeah.
so terrible.
It's so terrible.
And just like why even then write the book if you just think that everyone's bad and the bad people are really bad and there's no nuance and everything's bad and
Yeah.
any character that you've named is probably going to die.
And you have like a violence kink. Like, what are you doing?
You have a violence
man?
mutilation
Like,
kink.
What are you doing?
There were like multiple eyeballs burst throughout this book. Didn't need to happen. No interest in that. It's crazy. I also, now that I've talked about Heretics and Chapter House, just quickly I'll say this book is like nothing happens. Like very little happens in like 400 pages. If we look at the actual narrative of this book is characters waiting. Just all of the different characters are waiting for something that nothing is delivered by the end of the book, right? Like the Ithaca still hasn't found a place to land. The enemy still doesn't have the Ithaca. Crone still doesn't have the Kwisatz Haderach because those Golas aren't awakened. The Golas aren't awakened. Quick note, Asaveg, there's like 14 Golas in the book, just as a side note. The Helica's dead. The Honored Matre, like they're gone. It's like there's nothing really happens in the book meaningfully that hadn't already basically happened at the end of Chapter House. And the thing that's frustrating about this is Heretics and Chapter House are also frustrating books because they are also about waiting. And it can be very uncomfortable to be in those chapters where Odrade is looking out the window, thinking about the weather, not sure of what to do. And you're like, I think I've read this chapter 6 times already in this book. But Frank very intentionally writes that to be the point so that you understand the discomfort of being Odrade. But in this book, it doesn't serve any purpose. So at the end of the book, you just go, oh, I was uncomfortable for 450 pages for no reason. That's just wild. What a choice. What a choice as an author to be like, we're going to make you really uncomfortable and it's not really going to serve any purpose at all the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge waste of time. Like I'm walking away. The last thing I'll say here, I'm walking away after having actually read every single word of Hunters cover to cover. Basically realizing I have not been cruel enough to Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson publicly. Like what they've actually done here is insulting. It's pathetic. It's disgraceful. It never should have existed in the first place.
Uh-huh.
It speaks badly about their character, like them as people. It reflects badly on them, and it tarnishes everything Frank Herbert wrote. You know, like this needs to be like fully excised from Dune. Like anything
Yeah.
Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson wrote needs to be like fully like Disney, Disney comes in, buys it out, decanonized from this universe. It's like so fucking awful. It's such a waste of time. And, folks, over the years, we've been making this show for 6 years now. We have gotten the occasional email or comment on our episodes that's like, hey, you guys are too harsh. Like, just read those books, like, turn your brain off, read them like sort of like fun pulp fiction. It's whatever. It's more Dune. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's no
Hashtag
reason to
more
like
Dune,
hate
good
it so
Dune.
much. And I'm like, it's not fine though, actually. Like, it's not okay for this to exist. Like, it is actively harmful to Frank Herbert's stories and his legacy and the incredible impact that those have had on just Western culture and on science fiction around the world. And for these to exist is like, frankly, just the it's a war crime. Like, try them at the Hague. Honestly, is like all I have to say.
Yeah. The International Criminal Courts, we got a new warrant out.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a waste of time. It's indefensible. Like, I honestly, anyone who ever writes to us in the future and is like, just give the Brian Herbert books a chance, I'm gonna be like, nah, man. Like, you're wrong. I'm sorry. They're not worth any ounce of effort. And we're here doing it because it's like it's our jobs. And if we're gonna talk shit, we should actually read the thing and
Come with receipts.
like come with receipts and be able to talk shit properly. Um, but honestly, I would never in 1,000 years recommend these to anyone else.
I am, I will say, I will echo you in that exactly, which is that I am glad that I have read this cover to cover once. And I'm glad now that I can say to people, you really actually probably shouldn't read it. And book six is an excellent ending. And if you have questions about how it's an ending, we can talk about that. And I can give you the perspective of where Frank was at and Beverly and all these things. Uh, oh, Hunters of Dune? Yeah, that's a bad book. And in fact, it makes the rest of the books worse. And also, if someone's like, oh, but I liked it, like I can now be like, well, here are the specific things that I really had problems with that you didn't or haven't really accounted for. So it is to know that I have receipts now for the opinion
Yeah,
that I already basically had. But,
totally.
you know, again, you talk to people who've been around for forever and they go, oh, yeah, they're bad books. They're bad books with bad problems. And then you read them and you go, wow, these are bad books with bad problems. Turns out this is not news, but it is
Yeah,
good to have that experience and to no longer just be parroting what we've heard other people say.
definitely.
Um, so, right there with you, dude. Not necessarily glad I've read it, but glad I've read it. Folks, that's Hunters of Dune. And I am now excited to announce for the next episode in this book club series, we are going to be cracking open Sandworms of Dune. So, if you are following along with us, read the first half of Sandworms of Dune. We are also going to read the first half. I have not started.
I have
So,
not started yet either.
but I'm looking forward to all the texts you're going to send me. Do you know anything about Sandworms of Doom?
I actually know even less about sandworms. I already kind of knew quite a bit about hunters coming into it. I knew the
Mm.
gist of like all the Golas come back and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Um, Sandworms, though, for some reason, I feel like even in all these years, I've truly not come across like spoilers for it. So I'm kind of going in like totally blind,
I
which is a
have
scary
like
thought.
three things that I know happen in Sandworms of Dune, and I am interested to see how they fit into the broader picture. You know, it's like you have like the one little scene, and it's like, okay, how is that going to
Yeah,
happen?
how do we get there? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Whew.
excited. I'm excited to get all of your text messages. Uh, just like
Same.
just like with this book, I'm going to be keeping very active notes. I think I have something like 400 annotations on this book that I'm going to be doing again for Sandworms. So we'll have plenty to talk about as we talk about Sandworms of
We
Dune.
will.
Of course, uh, you don't have to read the book. We'll just talk about it. So you don't have to feel pressure to do that. But if you want to read along with us, you can. Now, of course, before we let you go, we also want to let you know of some ways to support us and what we do here at Gom Jabbar.
That's right. So, folks, you probably know the drill by now, but here are two great ways to support this show and help us keep doing what we do best. Number one, become a patron. Patreon.com/GomJabbar. It's a great place to sign up and be a monthly supporter for as little as $2 per month. Wow. I don't know why I did that. Wow.
Wow.
You get ad-free episodes. You get access to the Discord, where we have a thriving and lively community of nerds talking about not just Dune, but a lot of things at this point. Science fiction in general, the latest comic book movies, anything and everything. We love our nerdy little community, and we are so glad we have found all of you in our corner of the internet. So if you want to be a part of that, go to patreon.com/GomJabbar and sign up to be a patron today. The second best way to support the show is to check out our merch store, gomjabbar.shop. It's linked in the show notes below. We have some beautiful custom designed Dune themed merch, much of it made by our very own Leo Wiggins. So check that out and wear something cool on your next date.
Indeed. And of course, we love to hear from you. Did you also read Hunters of Dune? Do you have thoughts and feelings? Do you want to vent? Please email us those thoughts and feelings and ventings and pictures of your cute pets. gomjabbarpodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address. Email us. Say hi. We are criminally behind, but not as criminal as this book was for existing. So, whataboutism at its greatest peak. Send us your thoughts. Send us your questions. We love to hear from you. Just say hi. Tell us what you thought of this book. Tell us about your favorite book that you're reading these days.
Yeah.
I'm reading Some Something Glory. I love it so much. I don't even remember what it's called. Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. It's very good.
Is that about the lesbian space people?
There are lesbians. Are you thinking of the necromancer lesbians?
Some Desperate Glory. I just finished reading Dog Stars because we're covering it on. Okay. This has been on my read list for a long time, actually.
I'm reading it now. It's really good.
Nice. You'll have to tell me how it is. Yeah, I just finished Dog Stars last night before bed because Opes and I are covering it over on the Science Fiction Book Club podcast. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to go see the Ridley Scott movie next week.
Hell yeah.
Because we're going to do a little bonus episode about that. And then sort of my palate cleanser book right now is I'm reading the new Witcher book that just got translated to English.
Oh, sick. Cool.
Yeah, that's my nice little palate cleanser at the moment.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for joining us on this this Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's kind of a hot, sweaty day here in southern France, but I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for the comments. It's been very fun to watch people's chat throughout.
Yeah, this has been fun. We'll post the September schedule soon. We're going to crack open Sandworms. And we got a couple of fun episodes coming up, too, on the feed. So we'll see you where we see you. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.